Najarian?
Here.
Quintero?
Here.
Yusefian?
Here.
Mayor Weaver.
Here. Flag salute tonight will be led by Councilmember Najarian and the occasion by City Clerk Artie Kasakian. Please stand up.
Please rise, face the flag, place your hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As summer comes to an end and children all over our fair city begin to go back to school, I ask that we pray for them and their families. Let us pray for their safety and for their health, for our children are whom we have borrowed this land from and to whom we shall return it. We pray that they are successful in their academic and extracurricular pursuits so that they may grow up to become community leaders and active participants in our jewel city. We pray for our teachers and school support staff who work so very hard to ensure an environment of the highest quality and standards for our children. We pray for their personal and professional success, and most importantly, we pray for their parents, their families, and loved ones of everyone who is going back to school this week, and hope that this will be a safe, productive, and successful academic year for all. Amen.
Thank you. May we have your report?
The agenda for the September 5, 2006 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, August 31st, 2006 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And what is next?
Next is presentation and appointments. At 3A is agenda preview for the meeting of September 12, 2006.
Mr. McFall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Next week, there are no action items on the Housing Authority or the Redevelopment Agency meetings. There will be at 10 o'clock a study session, and this will be the first in a series now that provides the council with the results of the community meetings as a part of the long-range planning process. So next week will be the first in a series. That's at 2 o'clock, at 10 o'clock. At 2:30, there will be a presentation in another special meeting of the discussion of the mobility plan. On the City Council agenda, there are a number of items that are on the agenda proposed for next week. The first will be a report from the Director of Information Services on exercising renewal option for the city's radio maintenance, radio system maintenance. The second will be a resolution of appropriation for funds to conduct a historic survey of craftsman homes and the multifamily zones. And the third, there may be a report from the Director of Parks and Recreation on landscape maintenance contract and some associated issues.
What was the previous item?
Historic survey of craftsman houses and multifamily zones. This is a resolution of appropriation of a grant that was received.
$25,000?
$25,000, correct. There are 3 hearings that are planned. 2 of them are Mills Act hearings that council will be asked to consider. And then the last, this is a ordinance for introduction on a number of planning code changes. Council already had a study session on this, provided direction back to staff. This is the results of that direction. So coming back to staff with specific recommendations on changes to make. And that's it.
Thank you. Now we're going to take 3C next because I understand one student has class tonight. Which one has class?
High school class tonight?
I was told one I had to leave early for class.
The teacher actually has class tonight.
Oh, the teacher. Going to go to school, learn how to teach. Okay.
At 3C is a presentation of Glendale High School students who attended the G8 summit in Russia.
Okay. I'm doing this tonight because I wanted you to be seen on TV. I think Mr. Yosefian is coming to your event tomorrow to present some other things. But I graduated from Glendale High 49 years ago. And I'm very proud of you all for my as an alumnus for what you did. I'd like you all to come up. I'm going to read what's on only one, so they're all the same. And I want to ask Diane a question. So would you all please come up here?
Reading their names? Maybe they'll say their names.
Well, why don't you do that? Come up, say your names, and just stand here. I'll come down after I read one. Okay, step forward. You're after the G3 summit. This is nothing.
Good evening. My name is Callie Velasquez.
Good. Just stay up here.
Okay.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Bianca Montesino.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Panlaki.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Rigoberto Benitez.
Hi, my name is Bianca Zulimpanian.
Good evening. My name is Shantatarian.
Good. Is that it? Where-
Yeah, there's people.
Where's Diane?
And
She's probably with another world leader.
and we should probably bring up the principal and the
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah, Kathy, you want to come up? Principal of Glendale High School?
And we also have another teacher.
Oh, just come on. Why don't you say a few words, then I'll read it.
Okay. Well, thank you for honoring us. I'd like to invite Nancy Witt.
Bring the other
as well.
teachers.
One of our teachers. Olivia McCauley was also the teacher who spearheaded this event. Maybe it would be appropriate to let you know what actually happened.
Go ahead.
It's kind of a great story. Olivia received an email saying, "Would you like to share your thoughts with President Putin?" It's one of those mass emails you get, and she thought, well, yeah, I kind of would. And she asked her students, and we had 9 students who were willing to spend Saturdays and Sundays for over a month researching energy, infectious disease, education, and terrorism, and put forward a communique to the world leaders. And it was part of an online competition open to every high school in the United States, and we were privileged and honored to be selected as the high school that represented the United States at the J8, the Junior G8 Summit.
That is really remarkable.
And you would be proud of these students. They were each leaders and contributors to this world event.
Very good.
Did some others come in? Oh, another student.
name?
Your name?
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Sergio Marcial, and
Very good.
Glad you met.
one of the delegates.
Made it.
And we have here Olivia McCauley.
Come right up. Get on candid camera. Another teacher. Okay, and Kathy, do you happen to know what Diane Perez and Putin said to each other? Who said to what?
Said what to?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened?
Diana was sitting around the table next to the Prime Minister of Japan and of course President Bush. And President Bush was leaning over and talking to her throughout the summit as different things were presented. And he asked things like, what's the name of your parents? Do you have any sisters or brothers? And wrote a really nice letter to Diana's mother saying, thank you for sending us such an articulate and poised young lady. Now, what else was said, I can't really share. It would be hearsay, and it would probably be.
You better have Diane call me. I want to know what was said.
She walked away thrilled to have a conversation with the President of the United
That's
States.
something, when you consider you're the only high school in the entire United States to be invited. And then one of you to be sitting at the table next to the President of the United States. Heck, we'll never get within earshot of the guy in our lives. And here she was.
Speak for yourself.
And I don't.
Stick with Diana. We might stick with any of these guys.
Right.
Any
They
of you,
may be the president next time.
any
I
of you
would
like to add any comments? It's your one chance. There's TV. Your parents, everybody here.
I want to know what your comments were to President Putin.
We actually got the privilege to actually meet President Putin. He actually came to us when we were having a conference, and it was really good because he was so honored to meet us. Like he was like, make sure the cameras are back because I can't see the kids, and it was just awesome to meet him as well.
Did he speak English?
No, we had translators.
So what did he say?
It was kind of difficult to hear, but we were just asking questions like, I think the time we were there was when the Lebanon stuff was happening, and he actually gave a student asked, "What is your point of view about what's happening in Lebanon?" And he actually said his point of view. I don't.
And what was that?
Remember what it was?
Don't remember.
I'm so
Don't get
sorry.
involved in politics.
Not very memorable then.
Anybody else want to say anything? chance.
When he came in to speak with everybody, me and Sergio weren't in there because we were in the middle of our video conference with Cairo. And I heard the rustle outside and everything. You know, everybody was moving, everybody was making a lot of noise. I was just like, what's going on? What's going on? And then the lady finally came and told me, you know, he's here. And then I was really bummed out because I thought we weren't going to get the chance to meet him. And then all of a sudden, all these cameras come in, like, you don't understand. And then he walks in. I thought my heart was going to fall out of him. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. No one can understand. And he sat like 3 people away from me. So, and then I got to take a picture with him. Like, I held him. I was like, oh, hurry, take it. Like, and yeah, we didn't have translators, so I have no idea what he said because we were in the video conference. So, yeah, but I know that he answered a lot of questions for the kids in Cairo. So they were really, really excited because our topic was about education, but they went beyond that. They asked like all the questions they could in the 10 minutes he was with us. So
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're able to say whatever you wanted, no coaching. That's great. Anybody else want to say anything? It's your one chance of glory. Not this is glory. I like the GT Summit. Let me read one of these to you. I'll bring them down. I'd like to ask my colleagues to bring some pins down for you and your the ones that didn't show up. It says, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Glendale, I am proud to commend you for your participation in the 2006 G8 Summit in St. Petersburg, Russia. After months of research and a rigorous selection process, you were chosen to represent the entire United States at a 12-day student forum outlining proposals on key global challenges. It took a tremendous amount of dedication and perseverance to reach your goals, and we congratulate you and extend our sincere best wishes for your continued success. Go Youngs, whatever. Bring these down. Anybody else? Maybe you want to go down and shake hands with me?
What's
Centennial Pen?
fill up the jars? When do you go on there? When do you go on the cruise?
Nervous? That's okay. We're not Putin. Don't worry about it.
It should be real good during that time, too.
I was encouraging them to go out there, solve the Middle East crisis.
They were honest. They
No, this is centuries. We do this once every 100 years, so we gotta wait for another 100 years.
Totally good. But the good part about
Thank you very much for encouraging them.
Hey, bring them all over us.
Congratulations all, and it's great to have, local kids going to such important meetings. I think you guys did a great job, and then you represent Glendale in a great way, so you need a lot of congratulatory words, and as well as your teachers and the principal. Everyone's doing very well. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And you, your principal told me to tell her when you could leave. The time is now.
No, they need to hang out all night. They have to watch the city council meetings.
That's punishment.
It would be a letdown, actually, after G8. I just want to thank all of you because you weren't there just to represent Glendale. You were there to represent United States of America. And I want to thank you because I don't think we could have picked a better group to go there. Such an array of different people, different views. And you guys must have been the cream of the crop. Out of 50 states, you made it. So thank you very much, and I'm hoping that now that you have gone to the G8, this will give you reasons to enter into politics and fix all the bad stuff, right?
Now you can't leave. You have another young man that came in. You got to give your name.
Sorry, my name is Edgar Hernandez.
You want to say anything about your trip?
Okay.
What's the giggles for?
This trip been a great experience for me. I have learned a lot of lessons, and like for example, like speaking up more, saying your opinions, because me, I'm a very nervous person, kind of stutter a lot. But when I was there, I spoke more.
You got over that.
Yeah.
I'd be the one stuttering with that group. Well, congratulations. Kathy your principal has a certificate for you. Thank you all. I hope to see you Saturday and Sunday.
We look forward to seeing you at the next GA meeting.
Bye.
Yeah? Okay, good luck. Have a good
Thank you.
evening. Go Dynamiters beat Hoover this year.
We are.
And Crescenta Valley. Okay, now let's go back to B.
Mr. Mayor and Council, at 3B, we have commendation to Sewer Crew Supervisor Brian Ortega and Wastewater Maintenance Worker Rodrigo Torres.
I'd like to invite our Police Chief, Randy Adams, to come forth.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorable members of the City Council. Tonight I have the proud opportunity to tell you about an incident where two of our own city employees brought a felony suspect into custody for our city. So let me describe that incident. On August 15th of this year at about 8:24 in the evening, Glendale police officers were dispatched to the area of Chevy Chase in Glendale regarding a person breaking into a business. The reporting parties were two Glendale city employees, Sewer Crew Supervisor Brian Ortega and Wastewater Maintenance Worker Rodrigo Torres. They had witnessed a suspect later identified as Mario Macias exiting a business known as the El Mambi Market located at 329 East Chevy Chase via a smashed front door. Usually if somebody's coming out of a smashed front door of a business, that's a problem. During our response, we were advised that our two City of Glendale employees were following the suspect, and at one point, to prevent the suspect's escape, they gave chase and apprehended the suspect. He was detained until our officers arrived on the scene. Property from the store was recovered, along with drug paraphernalia from the suspect. Their desire to protect our community, their keen observations, and willingness to get involved resulted in an arrest and removal of a thief and drug user from our streets. The suspect was taken into custody for burglary, narcotic, and parole violations. A little history on the suspect they apprehended, and from what I understand, actually tackled in the process of bringing him under control. Mario Macias is a parolee. He has an 18-page rap sheet for crimes ranging from drug arrest, petty theft, to burglary and robbery. He's been in and out of prison and county jail for the last 15 years. Because of Brian's and Rodrigo's observations, several felony charges have been filed with the district attorney's office, and once again, we hope to put him back in prison for a nice long stay. Mr. Mayor and honorable members of the City Council, I'm pleased to present to you Sewer Crew Supervisor Brian Ortega and Wastewater Maintenance Worker Rodrigo Torres for City Council recognition as a great job.
You get the wood ones. I'll just read one. They're both the same. They read, with gratitude for your quick thinking and gallant efforts in apprehending a suspected burglar, your courage and willingness to risk your own well-being is a testament to your high values and good character. I am honored to thank you on behalf of the City Council for going beyond the call of duty. Happy to present these to you.
Which one of you tackled the guy?
I did. He was on a bike, and
Oh.
Brian jumped on him.
I knew once he hit San Fernando Road, he was a goner, so that's why we tackled him. But it happened in Glendale, so we take it kind of personal.
Yes.
Very nice.
Like Brian said, we thought it was kind of personal. We just want to do the right thing. You know, we weren't sure what he had done or taken, so we just thought we'd do the right thing, and we were lucky enough to catch him.
You didn't stop to think you could be in danger?
For a second, yeah. But
Yeah.
the gun was going. He had adrenaline rush, so. But for a second, yeah. Good thing he didn't have a gun.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, if I can repeat what he said, it happened in Glendale, so I took it rather personal.
Very nice. Just know sometimes I honk at people going by me at 60 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone, and my wife yells at me, "Don't do that. You never know what the person in the car in front of you has, like a weapon or whatever." But
Absolutely. And Mr. Mayor and Council, if I might share with you a breaking news story. We just had a bank robbery at the Wells Fargo Bank up on
North Brand?
500 block of North Brand. The good news is the suspect's in custody with a demand note in his pocket and $4,000 that he took from the bank.
Ooh, nice. Very good. A nice active afternoon. Okay. Thank you, Chief. What is next, please?
At 3D is a proclamation designating September 11, 2006 as Patriot Day.
Thank you, and there's someone who's coming up. No, my secretary gave it to me before I came in. There it is. Dave Worley. Oh, Mr. Biggs. Welcome. Let me read the proclamation, and then you can say a few words. Whereas on September 11, 2001, terrorists hijacked 4 civilian aircraft, crashing 2 of them into the towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, and a third into the Pentagon outside Washington, D.C. And whereas the 4th hijacked aircraft crashed in southwestern Pennsylvania after passengers tried to take control of the aircraft in order to prevent the hijackers from crashing the aircraft into an important symbol of democracy and freedom. And whereas these attacks were by far the deadliest terrorist attacks ever launched against the United States, killing thousands of innocent people. And whereas in the aftermath of the attacks, the people of the United States stood united in providing support for those in need. Now therefore, I, Dave Weaver, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim September 11, 2006 as Patriot Day. In accordance with Chapter 1 of Title 36, United States Code, which was amended to designate September 11th as Patriot Day, and calls for state and local governments and the people of the United States to observe Patriot Day with appropriate programs and activities, be it further resolved that the flags at all city facilities shall be flown at half-staff on September 11, 2006, in recognition of this day and in memory of all those who lost their lives in this grave tragedy. And who would like to speak?
On behalf of the Citizenship and Patriotism Committee for the Chamber of Commerce, we appreciate the proclamation. I just want to say that as a retired military member, I take what happened 5 years ago very personally, along with everybody else who cherishes the rights and freedoms of this great country. And it's very important that we don't forget what happened and why it happened, and that we are still engaged in a war on terror, and that it is ongoing. And when we look at what happened in England just a few weeks ago, I think that was a very subtle reminder that we have a long way to go. So I'm very always happy when I see that we are remembering what happened, because it's so easy for us to forget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, what is next, please?
Next is city council or staff comments.
I have a couple. One, I'd like to congratulate UCLA on a good start to their football season this year. But I would also, more importantly, like to congratulate USC Trojans for wiping out Arkansas in Arkansas with 4 new running backs, new quarterback, and another bunch of freshmen playing on the team. Says something about the quality of the program, and I keep emphasizing it. It's not so much that SC's winning, it's about the coaching and the way Pete Carroll can motivate the kids to perform at their very best week in and week out. You don't win as many games as they've won under Pete Carroll without something more than just the coaching on the field occurring. So I dressed appropriately today for them. Next time will be after we beat UCLA or Notre Dame. Till then, I'll just watch the games. Other thing I'd like to remind of this Sunday is Dreaming of Roses. Everything has come together quite well now. We've had 59 sponsors. We now have 40 restaurants. We have silent auction, the live auction. We're going to do a tribute to 9/11. Should be quite moving. I encourage everybody to come down. It's 4 o'clock at KABC TV over in Grandview and Flower, right next to DreamWorks. You get a good taste of different foods, and you'll have a great time. The time goes by fast, but it's a fun evening. We'll auction off 6 to 8 floats, seats on the Rose Float in the coming parade, and we'll have some live auction. One is a round trip for 2 to Orlando, Florida, courtesy of Southwest, to stay 3 or 4 nights at the Hilton in Disney World, and passes for the site. So it should be pretty good. So we're expecting over 1,000 people, so if you're not doing anything that evening, or if you want to have some good fun, come down. Dress is casual. Don't you dare wear a suit if you're coming. And you're supposed to relax and have a good time. And if you have any questions, you can always call me or the number you just saw on TV. Thank you very much. And what is next, please?
Any other council member or staff comments?
I'd like to also invite the public to the Unity Fest that is going to take place in October 1st at Verdugo Park. Any vendor who is interested in coming in and becoming a vendor at the Unity Fest, please give Zazette Ayad a call. They can call that number at 548-4844. It has to be a vendor that has a connection to art or culture. This is not type of a vending that I'm not looking for a cabinet refacing vendor. I'm looking for somebody who does sell something that has to do with representing a certain culture's art. It's food and entertainment. It's great fun at the park from 12 till 6. It's free. You can come in and enjoy your weekend there, and but you have to pay for stuff you buy from the vendors, and you also have to pay for food that you're going to taste from around the world and enjoy the entertainment from around the world. So don't forget, after you go to Mr. Weaver's Dreaming of Roses, then keep yourself, get rested real well, because on October 1st, you're going to go out there to Unity Fest and enjoy yourself. And don't get yourself too tuckered out, because on the 7th, you're going to go out there and enjoy another day for Relay for Life. So there's 3 great events. You can go out there. And Mr. Weaver, I hope the G8 Summit kids are invited to the...
They've already been invited.
Good. Good.
Yeah. We'll have about over 100 students working on Saturday setting up, and then they'll work Sunday too. And they get community service hours.
Yeah, but I hope they don't have to work. They're just coming in.
No, I got to figure out something so they can be identified. I think we'll introduce them and then let them walk around, let the people talk to them.
That'll be good.
And they can find out what Putin said to them all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Other comments? What's next, please?
Consent items, including minutes, following our routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before motion is proposed.
I'll move consent items.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Council members Manukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Yusefian?
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
All right. What's next, please?
6 is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report.
And the first speaker is from our police department, Gary Montecuelo, speaking on Relay for Life. We just plugged it. Second plug.
But he can do a better job. He has a uniform. They'll listen to him more.
It's just like the
I don't
man
know
of
about
the.
that, sir,
it's just
but,
like the man of the cloth.
That's
He
right.
can do a better job than we can.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of city staff, I'm Gary Montecuelo with the Police Department, here with Chief Harold Scoggins on behalf of the Relay for Life Committee. And we are part of the larger overall city committee that is helping to not only raise awareness but also raise funds and get walkers for the upcoming Relay for Life. And the first thing that I wanted to say is thank you. Thank you to you, Mr. Mayor, and to each member of the council who has previously so graciously supported this very valuable event. It's not only a way to raise awareness, but also to raise funds for this. And each department, though myself and Chief Scoggins are representing 2 departments, there are members from every single department within the city who are walking basically side by side and hand in hand. And as has been mentioned in several cases, this is not just personal for the individuals within the city and within the community, but there are many of us who have dealt with this particular issue from family members. I walked that journey a number of years ago when my mom suffered from cancer, first with breast cancer, then with bone cancer, for the 10 years prior to her demise from this terrible disease. I didn't understand as a young man why she had to go away for 2, 3, sometimes 4 months and stay in the hospital while she was receiving treatment. I didn't know what chemotherapy was or what radiation treatment was. And as a young man with even younger little brother, I had no idea why we couldn't go see my mom, and yet she stood courageous in the face of this very terrible, terrible disease. And so part of what I'm here to do is to encourage not only those in this audience, but those who would be listening in the television audience to think about if you would be interested in being a part of this, if you would be interested either in contributing or if you would want to walk, feel free to contact myself, Chief Scoggins, or Linda Patrick from the city manager's office, and we'll hook you up. You can be a member of our team in some capacity. You know, it doesn't take much. $100 will allow the American Cancer Society to sponsor support groups, and that's just 10 people giving $10. $100 will allow kids to go to either a theme park or to some type of summer camp, and again, that doesn't take very much. $50 will allow education in the schools, grades K through 12, and having the personal experience of walking hand in hand on a relay, if you will, with my mom as she suffered through this terrible disease. I can tell you that I wish I had known, I wish she had known about such things as early detection and recognition of the signs and symptoms of cancer before it got too late. But most important, again, I wanted to thank you as a member of the committee for your gracious and caring support.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm representing the tri-chairs of the committee, Linda Patrick and Mike Haney, who couldn't be here tonight. But as Gary said, you know, this is a very important event for our community, for our city, our state, everyone. ACS's goal is to try to eradicate cancer by 2015. And, you know, there's a lot of ways that can be done, but the number one way is through contributions and people getting involved, and that's what this is all about, raising some funds. But while you're at the event, you have the opportunity to learn a lot about cancer, about breast cancer, prostate cancer, and all the many different types of cancers there are through the mission delivery. It's all about learning, and that's what's going to take place at this event. But there's a couple other key points that we want to talk about tonight. It's remembering those who we lost to cancer, and there are so many. I know it has touched each and every one of us in the room tonight and out there in the community. For me personally, it's my parents, remembering those who we have lost, and also honoring those who are still here fighting the battle. Cancer is a 24 hours a day, 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week disease. And it's all about honoring them and letting them know that they have a network out there that's going to help them get through the tough moments. And that's what this is all about. So members in the community, if you can't be at the event, we're really encouraging you to sponsor a team, sponsor a person, sponsor the event. So many different ways to actually get involved. If you can't, walk a few laps around the track. The event's going to be October 7th and 8th at the Sports Complex at 2200 Fern Lane. And just like Gary said, if you want to get involved, just give Gary or myself a call or Linda a call. Phone numbers are listed. And if you're just seeking information, acs.org, and you can learn about the ACS to see if it's something you want to get involved with. Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate you listening.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I will be up there, and I have to tell you that my kids pretty much ask me every week, when are we going up, when are we going up? So they're looking forward to it. Last year, they were collecting paper clips as they were walking around, and at the end of the day, they had 1,000 paper clips. They said, what do we get now? I said, nothing. You walked and you did a good thing. That was very good. But they're looking forward to it. The parks is going to have the climbing wall and all the animals and all that on the display. And the kids love that. My young daughter loves the tarantulas. My son just can't stand them. So, she loves going up there and playing with the animals that are there. And, of course, as far as I'm concerned, I wholeheartedly support the efforts. I want to commend the committee, everyone that's working on it, everyone that has teams that have formed sponsorships, and I will be helping out as well. I think it's excellent what you're doing, and I want to wish you well. I will be up there, so if there's anyone who wishes to talk to me in my shorts and T-shirt, they can certainly come up and talk to me up there.
If I can touch on a couple other points. This is a full-service event. When you come to the event, you don't need to bring food. You just need a tent and a sleeping bag. All the meals are taken care of. There's a lot of activities. There's bands playing, just like Mr. Manukian said. There's things for the kids. We have a whole kids camp that's going to be set up for the kids.
Face painting.
Face painting. There's going to be movies playing throughout the night. There's going to be activities for 24 hours. This is a fun event. You'll have a great time. You'll meet your neighbors that you may not have met to this point. You'll really have a great time at the event. So come out and get involved.
Harassing the city council all you want.
No, don't use those words. No? It's public outreach.
Oh, okay. On our behalf, but on their behalf, it could be different. And Mr. Mayor, one other thing that I wanted to let the public know. I know we always, every year, we say we need to raise more money for research, and I don't know if some of you had read the recent documents that was released under American Cancer Society's research on melanoma, and the fact that they were able to actually do through gene therapy, out of 15 people, 2 people who had very aggressive melanoma, they were able to be cured 100%. So, yes, the other 13 did not respond, and they are continuing the research to find out what was the reason that they were unable to also deal with them. But this type of money is used to further those type of researches. And we need to have the funds to make sure this research continues, and I hope to God, I pray real hard, because there's too many people we all know that are dealing with this or suffering with it, that by 2015 make it a goal and at least deal with this and get rid of it. So it's there, the hope is there, we just need to support it, make sure that we get over that hump and deal with it. And thank you for your times and efforts, by the way. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Kirk Bell, followed by Lena Baroyan.
Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, my name's Kirk Bell. I'm the current president of the Character and Ethics Project, and I'm the incoming president. I just want to come and thank the council and the city for all the help they've given us and the support that you've given us. And we have some upcoming events. September 20th, we have our quarterly awards ceremony where we award citizens in the community that have done well and used our 12 words of the month. October 18th, we're having our 23rd annual Youth Leadership Conference where the school system from Glendale, La Crescenta, Burbank, and La Cañada, we match up about 100 students and with 100 adults, and we talk about current situations in the world. And lastly, our calendar, our 2007 calendar is coming out in October, and it's made up of artwork from the kids from the Glendale school system. So I just want to thank you for helping us and working with us in the past years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Elena, followed by Barry Allen.
Good evening, Mayor, member of City Council and staff. My name is Lena Bozoyan. I'm the Vice Chair of the Commission on Status of Women, and I'm here tonight to introduce our newly appointed student ex-officials who will serve with the Commission throughout the year of 2007. And as you know, one of the missions of our Commission is to empower young girls to serve throughout our community and to make a difference in their lives and in the lives of their community. And we hope that our student ex-officials will do just that. And before inviting them to say a few words, I want to introduce them. Ms. Ani Turbunyan. She's a senior at Glendale High School, and she did not attend the G8 summit in Russia, but she is an active member of her school community. She is a member of the ASB, Associate Student Body, was the Director of Activities of the Armenian Club, and also a member of Junior State of America. She also volunteers for the Red Cross Youth Group. Ms. Joanna Yim is an active in ASB and other student groups such as Make-A-Wish Club, the American Cancer Society, the Korean American Club, and the Academy of Science and Medicine. I invite the student ex-official to say a few words and to talk about some of the events of the Commission.
Hi, my name is Joanna Yim, and I'm a senior that's currently attending Crescenta Valley High School. And I'm just honored to be elected to serve alongside the Women's Commission because I know how much the youth can impact society and that the future is the youth. And to start at an early age, like once you start, you can't really stop. And one event that the Women's Commission has is the Women's Commission with a Mission, which is a benefit mixer to raise funds for the San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity. And it will be held at Casa Divina on September 8th, 2006 from 5:30 to 7:30. And we hope to see you guys there.
Good evening. My name is Ani Tribunian, and I am currently attending Glendale High School. I am a senior. It's my last year, and as you guys all know, Glendale High School is a pretty big school, and me being a representative from that school is a big deal for me because I feel like I have a big responsibility, which is a good responsibility to inform the youth and the young females of our school about their opportunities that they have in life through the Commission on the Status of Women. And one of our upcoming events is the Dollars and Cents. It's sponsored by the Glendale Commission on the Status of Women and the California Society of Certified Public Accountants. We would like to invite you to a seminar on economic literacy. And our slogan is, you take care of your parents, you take care of your children, you need to take care of yourself. It's a good opportunity for families, parents, young women, and women just in general to come together and talk about the way they can manage their lives financially, like college and paying for college and loans and investment and making investments in life. And it's just a basic night informing people about economic literacy. It's a great opportunity, and I encourage everyone and all the women in our community to come and participate in this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and I will also like to mention one more thing. Me and Joanna, we're also part of the Relay for Life. Our group is Hope Rising, and we would be happy to see you guys there because we're going to be there too, and we're going to be walking. Okay, thank you.
Congratulations. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Joanna, before
Commissioners, he has a question.
Joanna, before you leave, congratulations for joining the Women's Commission, by the way. As one of my challenges over the years has been to make a connection to the American Korean community. We have over 13,000 Korean Americans that live in Glendale, and it's been very challenging and difficult to be able to get them to apply for commissions. And it's nice to see you be a part of this commission. I'm hoping that you would use your position to encourage our other Korean Americans to also apply for many, many commissions that are available in the city of Glendale, especially women. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council members, for always supporting the commission's events, and hopefully we will see you on September 8th at the Casa Divina and September 20th at the Dollars and Cents.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Okay, next speaker, Barry Allen, followed by Margaret Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, staff. I'm Barry Hammond, of course, the public, the most important of us all. This weekend, I think it was on Sunday, the Daily News did an article on impact fees, and there were some very interesting quotes in that article. I'll give you one. We definitely need to impose an impact fee, Councilor Najarian said. I have two young boys who participate in soccer and swimming. We've got to go further and further to find parks. I looked at the map today, and I looked at it last week, and I saw that the parks in Glendale haven't moved. Now, I also know that Mr. Najarian has a swimming pool, so I guess his kids don't have to go that far to find a place to go swimming. Maybe some of the kids from other parts of the city should be invited up to enjoy that pool and the park-like setting. And in the recent interview, Mayor Dave Weaver said, we're trying to maintain our parks and maintain our libraries, and our revenue stream is just not there. Now, that's an interesting thing because in looking at it, the revenue stream isn't there. But yet, we just kept increasing the expenses of payroll and other superfluous things to keep the status quo, to be able to get the $80,000 of campaign contributions from the city employee unions. And remarking on the campaign contributions, Weaver said of the developers who put in about $171,000, they're there to give. But does it get them to first base with me? No, it doesn't. I will decide what is right for the city. Well, looking at some of the city documents, one of the documents indicates that we need about 600 acres to be in compliance with the state law relative to park space. Well, we purchased over 5,000 acres of open space. No reason we couldn't take a few hundred of those acres and be right there. One of the other things that the public hasn't seen or hasn't heard described is that these impact fees cover things like land acquisition. They don't cover staffing. They don't cover building. They don't cover any of these things. So we can acquire all the land we want, but where's the money going to come from to be able to build the facilities and then staff them? If we staff the libraries, which are only open 220 hours a week, if we staff those libraries 8, 10, 12 hours a day, I think we could certainly take a burden off of the community that's seeking those things. But just taking new money in to borrow against to pay the bills, I think that's a travesty. And I think that the public deserves better, and they deserve to know why this particular council has been spending more when the revenue resources just aren't there. Or as Mr. Weaver said, that our revenue stream is just not there. And it has been going down. But the expenses have been going up, up, up. And it's you gentlemen that are doing it. Now, I also want to remind some of the people that call me, there are very few copies of the Vanguard. They are left here at City Hall, and somehow or other they disappear each week. And from the people that are coming here looking for them, we know where they're going. Now, for those who want them, you can certainly call this number, 243-1502, 243-1502, and subscribe to Vanguard. Get it each week in your email box, and you'll know the things that are going on. And remember, you can't find them here anymore. Thank you. I'm Barry Allen for Vanguard.
Next speaker, Margaret Hammond, followed by Rick Barbs.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and city staff. My name is Margaret Hammond, and I'm here once again. Last week I couldn't make it. Thought I went out of town or left you alone for a while. I'm back. Actually, we had a wonderful old-timers picnic yesterday. Our mayor was there, and we were very happy to see him. And a lot of the people that were there, of course, were born and have lived in this city all their lives, gone to all the schools.
You told me I was there, too.
Pardon?
You told me I was there, too.
He was there, too.
Yes.
Okay. By the way of Mr. Najarian's brother, who came and did the benediction for us and was introduced as Rafi Manukian. But he was very, very pleasant about it and kind of said, okay, it was one of those things that kind of, and I went,
His first name is Rafi as well.
right. So, but he understood. But he doesn't look at all like Ara. I don't know. I looked at him. You don't look like your brother, I don't think. So, but that was all right.
I got the good looks in the family.
Oh, sure. Anyway, it was a really great afternoon. Mind you, it was awfully hot, and the people that were there, of course, being elderly, suffered quite a lot from the heat, as elderly people do. But we did enjoy it and had a great time. Lots of gifts and fun and visiting. And our honorees, of course, were Gertrude Ness, who's 100 years old, 100 years and 4 months, as she reminded us, Larry Miller, and the young lady that came from Brooks Moore, who came from the YWCA, and actually her uncle had been the president of or chairman for the Old Timers Picnic for years, was involved in the city. So we were very pleased to have her. She's a lovely young lady, and the YW does a terrific job on a lot of things, but particularly battered women. Now, one of the things I'm going back to is my thoughts about the smoke-making outside barbecues. And I know there is a motion to bypass the ordinance enforcing the laws against outside cooking, barbecues, whatever. And they are operating illegally, have been for 10 years, because they're too close, and they're still too close to homes and apartments. And they make thousands and thousands of dollars through the last 10 years, and yet causing the nuisance of smoke, smell, noise to nearby homes, apartments, whatever, which is not right. It's not right. And most of these establishments operate without fire sprinklers, which is another thing. And how does the city benefit financially? That I have never gotten an answer to. Very interesting. Now, I want to tell you right now, talking about illegal operations of banquet halls, the Montrose Collections up there on Honolulu is operating every weekend as a banquet hall. I taught two people that the people that came, the Thompsons, I know they won't mind me saying, Sharon and Bob, came yesterday and said they're going out of their minds every weekend. The police are there, helicopters are there, they're out there all hours of the night trying to round up these people that have had too much to drink, making a lot of noise, causing a lot of trouble in the neighborhood. This is a residential neighborhood. Why? I would go mad. I don't care. I'd be out there with a machine gun, man. Those guys would be gone pretty quick. Because it's not right. We pay for our homes, we pay our taxes, and the reason we live in Glendale is to live in nice, peaceful, quiet neighborhoods, not to have be kept up half the night on every single weekend for somebody else to make a lot of money at my expense of losing my sleep. I don't think it's right. It's not right, and it's not fair. So anyway, and don't forget, people, call 1-800-CUT-SMOG. No matter, remember, they're illegal. The smoke and the smells and everything are illegal, according to the state. So call if you have a problem. Just call them, and they're happy to hear from you. I just don't think that it's really right to allow this to continue. Not fair to the rest of the people that are not making money from these banquet halls, but have to suffer the consequences of living close to them. When they bought their homes, these places were not there. They had no knowledge that they would suddenly be popping up all over the place with these smelly, noise-making establishments. So I think the residents do have a right to speak up and say it's wrong. And speak up. Don't sit out there on your rumps. Speak up. Tell them what you think.
Mr. Mayor, can
Yes,
we get a response? I understand we did have a report a couple of weeks ago on enforcement activities with Montrose Collection. Is there an update to that?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I don't have one for you. We can certainly give you some more. We can check with neighborhood services and code enforcement.
A memo of some sort with some details, and that was several weeks ago. I'm not sure if
we can certainly provide you with an update.
Actually, I was asking Mr. McFall to get me an update tomorrow. I'm going to a meeting out of town, but I know code enforcement is watching them closely, and when legal believes we have an adequate level of evidence, we'll be bringing them in for appropriate follow-up and action. So contrary to what Margaret says, it's not being ignored, but there is a proper procedure to be followed, and we'll bring you a written status report.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Mayor, we are doing our hearing on the grilling ordinance on September 19th. It's a noticed hearing.
Thank you. The Speaker, Rick Barnes, followed by Leon Mayer.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilman, staff. My name is Rick Barnes. I wanted to say one thing on the G8. Apparently that came in on an email, and someone happened to look at that. I wanted to thank you, Mayor. I actually got your email that we're supposed to wear beige tonight, and I noticed that there was a few of us here with the beige, so...
Well, everybody doesn't listen to me, that's for sure.
I got close. Other is, I wanted to thank you, the Dreaming of Roses. The city does a lot of great things, and the Rose Parade is worldwide, and it brings attention to us. And I just want to thank you, Mayor and City Council, for all the work that you guys put into making certain that that occurs every year. Second thing I want to thank you on is looking at how much hard work and looking at the emotions that took place in City Council over the last few weeks and months with the Grandview Cemetery. Scott and Mr. Howard and Mr. Starbird and the City Council, the work that you guys allowed our city staff to do to bring some happiness in the sorrow of that. I really believe that that's the difference in our city, is having a City Council and staff that is paid well to do things, and you guys aren't paid that way, but at least the staff took their extra time, and again, thank you for that. Another thing I saw that there was a police Olympics, and it wasn't really well broadcast, but Glendale Crime Stoppers and Citizens for Law and Order, we actually went up and made free popcorn and was handing it out. And prior to that, I tried to call to see if I could get water bottles from the city of Glendale. And instead, I went and bought some other water. But when talking with our young man that takes care of that for the city, came to my knowledge that we don't just sell it to anybody. And I want to say, I think that's we could actually make some extra money. I don't know what the cost per case is, but it would have been great to be able to hand out our city water and have paid for it to give it away to the children and stuff up there at the park and have it actually as a business. I'd love to have it to hand out because it's part of our city. And as a realtor and community, I thought that'd be kind of fun to do. So I'm asking if you would make it available to private industry or private people to be able to buy cases of water. Okay. On another note, a couple things happened. I had a tree on a property fall, a limb of it, only an 8-ton limb fall. And so the city had to, Bill came out and we actually had the tree come down. And it was like a 55-year-old tree, but it was a very, very large tree. And with that, when the tree guys were taking it down, it was interesting that a permit was pulled, and yet when people saw this oak tree coming down, the police were called. And I thought maybe in rewriting this that we could actually send a approved permit over to the police department, so at least they would have a copy of it, number one. Number two, those permit also shows what trees are coming down. That may be a way to catch a individual that's doing the trees, but maybe taking more than what's in the permit. So just as a thought, I think that should be included. The other thing that I hate to bring it up, but I had comments that was made to me about our city council meeting on our Ramsey Drive individual, or I shouldn't say that. Let's just say a tree came down. City council took a very guilty opinion on that. And I'm a firm believer that we have a constitution, and we're innocent until proven guilty. And I know in civil court there's a difference. You're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. But here was a tree. It was a felony because of the dollar amount that was included here. I think maybe when we're rewriting our tree ordinance, maybe there's a way to at least have had someone follow up with the people that cut it. I mean, it may have been the gentleman that said something, but there was no follow-up. And so we had everybody saying he's guilty, but the tree was down, but was there other circumstances? And if we have someone else that's get caught in that same situation, and it comes this far to city council, and maybe there was some innocence there, how do we change that? How do we make certain that we're not sitting here saying they're guilty, 100% guilty, when in fact there may have been some innocence there? And so I would hope that when you guys are rewriting the tree ordinance, that is something where maybe there's I know it's not a lot of money, but maybe there's a police detective, maybe there's someone in the city that follows up and looks into it a little further instead of just accusations on someone's part. The other thing I'd like to say is, can we invest in our future, close our city council meetings with prayers and safety for our troops? Our troops now, with email, being able to watch our city council, we have a lot of young men and women in Iraq and around the world that are from Glendale, and I think it'd be great to see our council close with prayers and thoughts for our troops. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes?
Mr. Yusefian?
When the police officers showed up on the day that you had to take down the tree, did you show them your permit? When you showed them their permit, did they leave or?
Yes, they left.
Okay.
So and I know I spoke with Bill, and he had gotten a lot of phone calls, and so, I mean, in a way, it would have been nice, just because there's other things that happen in the city, like bank robberies and so on, that if they know there's a permit, it would take a little bit less time.
Believe me, if there were bank robberies, they were going to go to the bank robbery first.
Thank you.
They wouldn't be showing up to the trees. So they came to trees because there was no bank robbery. That's the reason they showed up to it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Mr.
I don't have a
Markey.
question for Mr. Barnes, but he makes a couple of good points. I think that should be noted. The permits and selling the waters, I don't know what the probability is, but it would be a good promotional item. So.
Costs us more money.
We make the water available as a promotional item to nonprofit groups and community events. Getting into the wholesale business of water, I suspect, kind of gets us off track from what we
Whole
know.
new series of
Stream
regulations.
of revenue could increase.
Probably not what it's costing us for water to have our
Right.
label printed on it.
Okay, Leon?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Howard, Mr. Starbird. I'm here as chairman of the Author, Artists, and Friends series, and I'm here on behalf of the Glendale Public Library, and I'm here to talk about our winter-fall program. And before I discuss that briefly, I'd like to again call to the attention of the public the fact that the Friends have started a little bookstore on the main floor of the library called the Book Nook. You can get excellent used books there, And also, you can bring your books that you want to donate to the bookstore, to any of the branch libraries or the central library. Now, in December, we're going to have what I consider one of our most important programs. It will be dealing with environment. And we're going to have Ed Begley Jr., the son of Ed Begley Sr., famous movie actor, some of you might remember. Well, Ed Begley Jr. is a famous environmentalist, among other achievements he's made in his lifetime. And he will join with John Robinson, a famous hiker who's written books. He's also a historian about the gateway to Southern California, the trails in the local mountains. That will be sometime in December. In November, we're going to have nationally prominent commentator John W. Dean. He's been to the library a couple of years ago. He is a protege of Senator Goldwater, and he has been working with a book with Goldwater, and since Senator Goldwater passed away, he's finished the book, and he's had it published. It's Conservatives Without Conscience, and we'll talk more about that later. That will be in November. In October, we're having a special treat. We're having Denise Hamilton, a Glendale resident who is now a nationally known mystery writer with her Eve Diamond series. She will bring two other ladies who are getting well-known. One of them is already well-known, and they will present an evening which they're calling Cool Dames Packing Heat. They're all murder mystery writers, and Denise will host that panel. And then this month, September 27th, 7 o'clock, Wednesday, at the library, we will have two prominent local gentlemen. One is Chris Erskine, a La Cañada resident, and his book and his column called Man of the House. It's a weekly column he does for the Los Angeles Times. It's been such a hit. It's wry humor about family and friends, and he has been syndicated because it was greeted so well. He's published and syndicated in 600 newspapers throughout the world. That's Chris Erskine, and he has compiled all his columns, his best columns, into a book which people will be able to buy. Along with him, it's a night of humor, so to speak, we will have Al Martinez. We had Al Martinez a few years ago. He's a Pulitzer Prize columnist for the Los Angeles Times, and he has written some very serious commentary over the years about Southern California and the country and the nation. He is going to talk about Barkley, A Day's Journey. That's his dog. And all dog owners are invited, but we haven't made arrangements yet with the police department to invite you to bring your dogs. But it'll be a fun evening for Al Martinez to talk about his book, Barkley, A Day's Journey. Incidentally, he also will bring his other books that a lot of people have purchased through the years and have been published throughout the Los Angeles area. So that's basically it for our fall-winter program. We're glad to bring it to you. We don't pay ordinarily a nickel for any of these people that we bring to the library, and we hope everybody can come. Parking is free. That is, parking is validated at the Maryland Exchange, and admission is free. 7 o'clock. Next program, Chris Erskine and Al Martinez, and that's September 27th at 7 o'clock. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker, Osmic Demerjian.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, staff. My name is Hasmik Demirjian. I'm one of the owners of 3612 Linda Vista Road. City is refusing to sign off on its grading permit and thus holding certificate of occupancy hostage because of the median issue. Median is not going to provide us safety. Instead, it calls for danger. The median, it does not affect only us, but all the commuters on the street. For example, if we are prevented from making a left turn in and out of our driveway, we would have to make a dangerous U-turn on a curvy road on Lida Street in Pasadena. Making left turn in and out of our driveway is safe because we have been using it for the past 3 years during construction, along with our subcontractors, their workers, including city inspectors. And it's not dangerous. There hasn't been any incident or accident. And that proves that it's very safe. My concern is how will our guests, service people like gardener, police service guy, delivery trucks, mailmen, trash trucks, most important emergency vehicles will maneuver in and out of our driveway? How about if we have to go to the hospital when every second counts? In front of our driveway, it's not Brand Boulevard or Cañada. If median provides safety, then it should be all over on hillside homes. We shouldn't be singled out. There are so many alternatives like stop sign, speed sign, bumps and humps. The idea of median came from Fair Oaks Community Homeowners Association to prevent us from building this house because they were against the development. And it was presented by Tom Mitchell from City Traffic Department. So I'm asking the council to put on their agenda to discuss this issue and reverse traffic department decision.
Thank you. Just a comment. I've driven over, that's Linda Vista, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the top. I've driven that, oh, that's all. I've driven that road since the 1940s. I'm an engineer, I can tell you the line of sight on that is very poor. And it was a condition of allowing the house to be built there, the meeting go in. You all agreed to that condition put on, not by the homeowners, by the Traffic and Transportation Department. I remember it very well. As an engineer, I questioned it myself, and that was a condition. The house wouldn't have been there if you did not agree to the condition. To now ask for the condition to be removed, I think that is wrong. That's on my only comment. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Yosefian.
I have a question from our city attorney on this. That was a part of the mitigation measure?
Actually, I believe it was a condition of the conditional use permit.
Okay, so it's not a mitigation measure.
No.
So if this council chooses, they can waive it?
No. The applicant would have to file a request to have a condition modification, and it would be a notice to public hearing,
Okay.
just like the original public hearing on the conditional use permit where the condition was imposed.
And could you explain that process? So the applicant would have to file a waiver of the condition.
It would be essentially
goes to the zoning administrator, and if it's granted, fine. If it's not, then it's appealed to the BZA.
Same process
and
as
then
filing
it comes
for
up
an
just like
application.
anything else.
Same process as filing for a CUP, except in this case, it would be an application to modify a condition by eliminating it.
Okay, so I hope you understand, we can't just waive it. You have to go through the process until it gets to us, if it gets to us. I must say that I was one of the people who voted for it, and I drove Linda Vista for another project. And I drove down, and I had to go all the way down and try to make a U-turn to come back. And almost after you make the hump and you're going down toward Pasadena area, there's so many curves, there's barely any place for you to make a U-turn. And I mean, I'll have a little car, it's fast, I can make it. I don't know if that's actually a safer condition by putting a medium there. I mean, I
clearly known to the applicant. Homeowners didn't want any house at all.
Oral communications. I want to remind you, it's oral communications.
I know.
This was a safety issue.
I know.
Safety issue that was put on.
I know.
And now I guess Harut Demirjian would like to speak. Remember, this oral communication, there'll be no more debate on it.
My name is Harut Demirjian, Mr. Mayor and staff, council members and staff. There was no conditional use permit on this project. And I have the conditions of what you guys made. There is no condition like that about the median.
We required a median.
But
That's
it's
my
not
bottom line.
conditioned. Okay, I can speak about that also. The condition, the median issue brought up to you by me or Mr. Tom Mitchell.
By the Parking and
And-
Transportation.
Pardon?
By the Parking and Transportation Department.
Okay. And when we were discussing that issue at the time of the approval of the project, Mr. Scott Howard cut into the subject. We have the video. You have the video. Cut into the subject by saying that this hearing is only for buildability of the house. It's not for the median. Median is separate issue. And then that was thrown out of the agenda. It wasn't, the comments were thrown out. There was nothing like that, no comments. So nobody spoke about that anymore. So there's the comments, there's the conditions, we don't have anything in there.
Okay.
We're just asking to,
Okay,
you know,
this is not for debate or discussion.
We
Mr.
have the city
Yosefian has
attorney look at
clearly
it.
said the process to be followed if you want to appeal a condition put on by the city.
conditional use
We'll
permit.
take a
We don't
look at
have
it. I
a condition,
believe
not a
they've
condition.
retained legal counsel, and Ms. Sansoni has recently sent a lengthy response to their legal counsel. I just got back in town this morning. I'll take a
And-
look and review that correspondence.
We ought to
as
stay out
well.
of this.
And could we get a report?
Sure.
Yeah.
We
Thank you.
thought that we could solve the matter in here
You
instead
better
of
stop,
going.
since you have legal counsel.
All right, thank you.
Good luck. Okay, I have no more cards or communication is closed. What is next, please?
Since there is no adoption of ordinances, we'll move to action items. At 8A is Chief of Police regarding Glendale Police Department Reserve Officer Program. At 8A1, motion to note and file report.
Mr. Starbird, who's going to Chief Adams.
Yes, some brief preparatory comments first, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind. City Council had requested that this matter be placed on the agenda to review the city's policy with respect to the assignment of reserves, I'll call it for community event security. With the report, and you've received a copy of the report in your packet. It's here for information, but of course, if there's concerns, questions expressed by the council, we'd be happy to take those. For the report, Chief Adams. Randy?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, it's my pleasure to be able to review with you tonight a volunteer program on the department that I think deserves a lot of accolades and support, for they volunteer thousands of hours on a yearly basis to our city in helping supplement our regular officers on the street. The Glendale Police Reserve Program was established back in 1968, and at that time we called them auxiliary officers. And the concept of reserves officers originated and was enacted with the Civil Defense Act. The concept was to create a available, professionally trained cadre of officers to respond to emergencies and disasters. The main advantage behind establishing a group of volunteers would be to receive the same training as full-time officers, and that they would supplement and assist our regular officers on a regular basis. And that has occurred on numerous occasions. Thinking back over the Metrolink tragedy, they were certainly there for us there in that. During the Paula Street shooting incident, they actually fielded all the calls in the city while the rest of the officers responded down to that particular area. When we have the officer Matt Pavelka shooting over in Burbank, they were here to assist us in handling a variety of calls, and the list goes on and on. That gives you an example or a flavor, if you will, for what our reserves are involved in. That's their primary duty. That's the primary thing that they need to be involved in. But because the reserves are volunteers, there's certainly an interest in having them work a variety of special events to try to defray, if you will, the cost of those special events and increase, in many instances, the profit that's available by those sponsoring those events. One of the things that comes to mind with probably a lot of individuals is why don't all of the police officers on the department volunteer to work the worthwhile special events that occur in the city? The reason behind that is really the Fair Labor Standards Act that actually prohibits officers from volunteering to work in a capacity in which they are normally paid. And because of that, they couldn't, even if they wanted to, volunteer to work these events on their own time. In addition, the MOU that the Police Officers Association have actually gives them the first right of refusal to work any special events where police services are going to be required. So because of that, should they so elect or desire, they have to be called upon first to work any type of an event. And if they are called upon first, there is always a charge associated with their working that particular event because they work those events in an overtime capacity. It's been the general policy and practice of our department to assign salary officers to community events that involved a perceived need for a general law enforcement presence due to traffic enforcement, potential conflicts, or other public safety factors. We believe this is in the best interests of the city, but this is in no way a reflection on the capabilities of the reserve officers. Rather, it is a recognition of the fact that full-time officers who deal with such issues on a daily basis may be more cognizant of certain issues and how best to mitigate them. Conversely, there have been a couple of very low-risk requests where reserves have been allowed to provide the majority of service, merely providing a police presence and not anticipating any significant issues. In short, the more potential for risk, the more full-time officers will be assigned to the event, while the lower the potential for risk will allow for more consideration of reserve officer staffing. For example, a number of events that the reserves have handled that you're well aware of are the Dreaming of Roses event, the Miss Asia pageant, the Special Olympics, the Armenian Olympics, the car shows, and football games. Our number one concern with our reserves, though, as we only have a little over a dozen reserves in our cadre of reserve officers on the department, is that we don't burn them out and that we don't overtax them. So in the past, we've had a fairly informal process where besides looking at the potential requests for them to work certain events, we've also inquired as to their availability to deploy and work such an event, and we've given them a certain amount of right to indicate that they really don't have sufficient staffing to work a particular event when they're requested. One of the things that we always keep in mind, though, is that with any of these special events, we certainly want them to work events that we believe would be of benefit to the city. Because there's been issues of concern raised over how the reserves have been deployed in the past, and there's also been issues raised from time to time over the number of officers that we actually deploy to certain special events, I've instituted change at the department where I've taken the entire special event process and moved it into staff services directly out of my office so that we can review very carefully every request involving special events and try to minimize the number of officers used in that event and make sure that we minimize the expense to any organization trying to host a special event in the city. However, what we've also are doing is adding a clause to the special event permits and processes that basically says if our estimate, our conservative estimate of how many people you might need to police that event ends up not being sufficient and additional resources have to be called in to quell a disturbance or a situation that arises because of that special event, the promoter of that event will ultimately be billed for those services. So we're doing everything we can to try to provide some consistency in the administration of the special event process, as well as in the utilization of reserves for different events. So at this time, I'll be happy to entertain any questions. I also have with me tonight the chain of command, if you will, for our reserve program. Captain Mike Rock is with us, who's actually in charge of our field services division on the department. Sergeant Steve Carey is the administrative staff sergeant in our patrol unit that actually oversees the reserve program. And I also have Captain Bill Torley here, who is a longtime reserve and the highest ranking member of our reserve program, and probably could give you every historical footnote in our reserve program since almost its existence. So he's been put in a number of years for us. So we'll be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Okay, I have a card too, whenever you're ready. Mr. Najarian, followed by Mr. Youssef.
I have a couple questions, Chief. let me just use the example of the Unity Fest, because I'm familiar with that, and I chaired that last year. There was a request for some police presence during the course of our normal activities. And you're saying that that's typically the type of service that reserve officers participate in, just a police presence and traffic, guiding folks across the street. Is that right? I mean, is that mainly reserve availability? Is that the type of duties that a reserve would participate in?
Well, Councilman Najarian, certainly they would be capable of doing that particular type of request, as they would working any special event, because what I want to emphasize is that all of our reserves have received the same training as regular officers, and you can't tell a reserve from a regular officer out on the street. They wear the same badges, the same uniforms, and so forth. So they're certainly capable of providing that service. However, that's an instance in which the Peace Officers Association has not waived, if you will, their right to work that event, and so they have taken advantage of the first right of refusal to work that event, which makes it a chargeable event. And also it's an event that it isn't just a mere presence. When you're out there directing traffic, guiding people across the street, doing those types of things, that requires a higher level of intensity than just merely being there and standing there and having people see that you're there. You're actively engaged in conducting work, if you will, at the particular event. And sometimes directing traffic can be one of the most tedious assignments for anybody at any type of a special event. Having worked a number of them in my prior years, that was one of the most fatiguing things, is if you're regularly trying to direct traffic, get people safely across the street and so forth. It sounds like it's an easy task, but it can be a very tedious task.
So, I mean, in the order of procedure here, someone or a group organizer would put a request into the police department saying that we would like to have X number of officers to perform these certain functions. And then the right of first refusal, if you would, to fill those duties go to our regular uniformed full-time force. And then should there be any openings, or should all the spots not be filled by our regular force, then are they made available to the reserves? Is that how I understand it?
Yes, that would be accurate. And reserves may or may not be available for a particular event.
And does that organizer pay the same for reserves as he would for a regular officer? Does he reimburse the department or the city in the same rate?
The past, depending upon the event, no. A lot of the reserve, if a reserve works a particular event, because the reserves are in a volunteer capacity, there was no charge for the reserves. That potentially may change. We're looking at the legality surrounding that, because there have been some times where they do work certain events and they are paid. For instance, the reserves work all the football games in the city, and there actually is a charge for working that, and they are paid to work those events. That is the only event that I'm aware of right now where they are normally and regularly paid to work the event.
Is there ever a situation in which the reserve officer is not compensated, but the department obtains funds to put in a fund, let's say, for their training or equipment or other type of needs earmarked to support the reserve force?
Yes, Councilman Najarian, sometimes folks that have put on certain events will make a donation to the reserve program that will go into a special account for the purposes of the reserve program.
But it's not a charge. It's not something we
It's a
handle. It's a voluntary donation.
contribution.
Yeah, generally, when reserves work an event, there's not a charge like the normal police charge to the city, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Yusefian.
Couple of questions. There's a section in here that says the guidelines contained within the Fair Labor Standards Act, FSLA, prevent our regular full-time police officers from volunteering to work public safety assignments. These full-time employees simply cannot volunteer to work community function, even if they are so inclined. question. Are these fair labor standards that are used in other municipalities?
Federal law.
Federal law.
Federal law.
Then could somebody explain to me how is it that in other cities police officers volunteer and do not get paid?
Councilman Yusefian.
Are those municipalities just violating the federal law?
Well, in some municipalities, the reserves get paid to do everything.
This is not about reserves. This is about their regular police officers.
Well,
they're not a reservist. These are regular police officers which choose in some community to donate a certain amount of their time to that community to volunteer.
To provide the same services as they are where they're being paid to
Then they
perform
would
their peace
otherwise have a
officers.
problem. They must be ignoring it.
They can do it. What ends up happening is you do that, and the peace officer then a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now decides, you know something, I've been doing this, I want to get paid. They can make a demand, and you're going to be out of luck because the guidelines provide that you then have to pay them overtime.
But they're the ones who offer to do the job.
I know, but the Fair Labor Standards Act provides that they are entitled to overtime.
There is one distinction, and that is if there's a manager, could be a police officer, not otherwise eligible, for overtime, then they wouldn't be covered. They could volunteer and wouldn't need to be compensated. But since the Fair Labor Standards Act became applicable to public employees, which has been at least a couple of decades ago, one of the cardinal rules has been if an employee is working or providing a service that they'd normally be providing on their regular hours, then literally they're supposed to be compensated for that time. And if they're not, they can have a charge to come back on you a year later and then claim that time. So the cardinal rule has been you don't allow your employees to volunteer to provide the same kinds of services that they'd be compensated for.
You're supposed to even go so far as if you see them sitting at a desk, and we're talking about non-exempt employees, if you see them sitting at a desk, you're actually supposed to tell them you're not supposed to be working, you got to leave.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to clean up some things. They could actually come back to the public agency requesting overtime.
Okay. The other question I had is, you said that we have 13 officers. I remember a few years back there were a lot more than 13 officers. What happened? Some of them get hired into the department, or they just decide they don't want to do this? What happened?
Councilman Yusefian, yes, we actually had 2 of our existing reserves become regulars, which isn't unusual. Over the years, we've had a number of reserves become regular officers in the organization, and we look at it as an outstanding recruiting pool, if you will, for the department. So that was one factor. We also had one resign from the program. And it's also become very difficult to continue to get people to volunteer to be a reserve, because you have to remember that coming into the reserve program, you have to be willing to go to an academy on your own time for a long period of time to accumulate the training time similar to what an officer occurs when they go through the academy. And you have to do that on your own time and at your own expense. And usually it's done in evenings and on weekends. And so it's difficult sometimes to find people that have the personal time away from their regular employment that are willing to donate all that time to go through that level of training. That level of training today is similar to the regular officer, where years ago it didn't used to be that intense. It didn't used to be quite as much training.
What is the cost of that
today? We actually absorb the cost. I'm not sure what the actual figure is, but we actually put them through the academy, so they don't have to financially incur any expense, and we provide
for
them
the
with
reserves.
A uniform. Right. We provide them with a uniform and so forth. Their cost is their time. And I guess on a positive vein, just today I interviewed 2 reserve candidates that are going to start the academy on September 10th, which is this Sunday. So we will be increasing our number hopefully by 2, which will get us back up to 15. And also in the last year and a half, there was a period of time where the person charged with coordinating the reserve program was actually used for our recruitment task force for regular officers, and we couldn't use them at the time for recruiting reserves. So that may account for a slight drop. But our average over the last number of years has only been in the area of 15 to 20 reserves at any one
Yeah,
time.
I remember that number around 15 to 20. The other thing is, refresh my memory, when we had that big shootout, I don't know how many bullets there were, didn't we have some officers there that were reserves involved in that?
The function that the Councilman Yousefian, the function that the reserves performed that particular day, which was a very valuable one, is we pulled almost all of our existing deployment to that scene to handle that incident.
And they filled that position.
We called the reserves out. They responded from their jobs and different things. They dropped everything and came in and worked the street and covered all the normal calls for service.
Nice.
A tremendous asset to us.
Nice. And that's, that's why when I read in here that maybe they're not as equipped to deal with some of the issues, I find that hard to believe. I actually think that they are as equally capable of doing. As a matter of fact, I think the gentleman sitting there is the best sharpshooter you have. I don't think anybody maybe in the state of California can outshoot him. So they're very highly qualified. I find the group that you have very respectable. I can't say enough about them. They do a very good job for us. One thing that I'm very sad about is that there's only 13 of them. I think this is something that I like to probably put somewhere on the agenda, somewhere down the line, to discuss about as a matter of policy for this city. We make a policy, and maybe we do an ordinance or resolution or whatever we have to adopt to have a certain percentage. So as a policy, for example, 10% of our police departments, rank and file, we should have a police reserve corps of 10%. So whatever the percentage of, if we have 300, then we need to have a corps of 30. Same thing for the fire department. We should be doing the same thing. The police department has been way ahead of themselves since 1968. We still don't have one in fire, and I think we need to get there. They're part of reason that you keep some of your overhead and your overtime charges lower, because they do fill in when you don't have to bring somebody else in and pay them time and a half. My issue with this was, when I asked for this to come back, was not to try to say anything negative about the Corps, what they're doing. My main issue was there was a lot of ambiguity among all of us on the council. We didn't know, and about people. Nobody knew what the rules and regulations are. What is the policy? How do you get to have reserve police officers? Do they have to be just your friends to work on your thing, or is there a process you follow? Is there a form you fill, or whatever? And some of it has been explained to me. For example, Unity Fest, we can't use them because in our MOU, and this is our fault, somewhere down the line when we renegotiate our police contract next time, we may want to look at that. We need to kind of work in that in some sponsored events that city does, we may be able to use them. Our MOU doesn't allow us to use it, and it's not their fault, it's not your fault. This is something that we agreed with the association, so your hands are tied also. But I just wanted to have some system set up that if they're going to be used, they're going to be used in a manner that is spelled out in some document that the council has accepted it. So somewhere down the line, we don't have an issue. And my issue only started when one for-profit organization used it. That's it. I have no issues with nonprofits. I have no issues with them working a football games. I think that's great. I think that's actually a good idea. Having police officers, reserves at the football game, young people seeing police officers, it's a good role model. And the other thing that I think it's good in here to see is that they should get paid a certain amount. They may not personally get it, but there needs to be an account for them, for Police Officers Association. And as all these organizations, whether they work for Unity Fest or Relay for Life or anything else that is out there, they pay a certain amount, a discounted rate that most, we have a policy about nonprofit organizations, they get a discount. So they get the discount, so whether they're using a regular police officer or they're using that money, if they're working it, that money goes in their reserve account. And then they could use it for their purposes. I'm pretty sure they need a whole bunch of stuff, change uniforms, buy whatever they need to do for their thing. That was the only reason I wanted this to come, because I've frankly been in this council for 5 years, and I have never, ever figured out how do you get to use the Reserve Corps. And so this makes it a little bit more clearer, conciser, and has an application, so now I know.
Mr. Quintero ask a question now.
Okay.
Mr. Quintero.
Well, I'm still not satisfied, Chief. I'm interested in a criteria. I'm interested in setting up procedures that clearly lay out what it may cost a nonprofit, and I also think we leave it up to the professional expertise of the chief or whoever's in charge of the section to make the decision as to how many officers are needed. But there has to be a criteria, there has to be some procedures, because in all the years that I've been in the city of Glendale, all the nonprofits that I've participated in, all I've ever heard is people complaining that so-and-so nonprofit doesn't pay or only has X amount of officers. We have a function and we have to pay for X amount of officers. So it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. So I just don't think this is clear enough. From what I read, it's better than what we've had in the past. But we need to come up with something a little more clear than just filling out a form, so that people don't feel like somehow they're paying and others aren't. And then in terms of the reserve officers being used, I understand the concept, and I don't have a problem. I think they're just as qualified as the regular line officers are. But I don't particularly agree that it should be free. There should be some fee attached to it that either goes into the general fund to help the reserves with their uniforms, or what we do with it, I don't know. But there should be some fee for the reserves also. And as far as I'm concerned, it should apply to everyone, whether it's a city function, Unity Fest, or Relay for Life, or whatever. It shouldn't matter whether it's a city function or a nonprofit function. The fees should be the same, and the criteria should be the same, and the procedures, in a sense, should be the same. So there's no favoritism for one person's charity over another. So I think we still need to do some more work on this particular issue. I'm not satisfied with what we have here tonight.
Just one comment, Councilman Quintero. One of the things that we have done is take the whole special event process into staff services and directly out of my office, so that we can provide that consistency that you just asked for, so that we can evaluate on a continuing basis the number of officers that are used for a particular event and provide consistency from event to event so that it can be explained and justified. The reality is, with all these special events, those that promote the special events would prefer not to have to pay for any security, because the more they have to pay for, the less the profit is for the event. We appreciate that. We're trying to do everything we can to look at the track record of the particular event, and if there were minimal to no incidents involving the need for a police presence, we're trying to see what we can do to scale back the number of people that are required for that event. And I think that you will see some change in the number of people that we will actually be deploying to the event, with the caveat that I mentioned, that we will be placing into the permit the responsibility for the event promoters, should we need to respond with additional police presence to deal with whatever incidents occur, they will be liable for that expense.
But what I'm not comfortable with, Ms. Starbird, also is that the police officers, for whatever reason, aren't going to function and, not going to participate in the event or not going to patrol the event. All of a sudden it goes to the reserves. All of a sudden there's a zero fee. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
If
That
I can,
leaves it
Mr. Mayor.
open.
Mr. Quintero, you really raised two issues. One is the process for assigning officers to an event, irrespective of their status, whether they're reserve or regular police officers, because as the chief points out, they're all peace officers in the eye of the law, and they have the same functions, responsibilities. And if an incident occurs, the city is ultimately responsible, regardless of their status. They're peace officers working for us. We're responsible for them and their actions. There's the question of when and under what circumstances are reserves assigned, given that historically when reserves were used, either they were paid directly like the football games, which has been a tradition here. They work the football games, but they get paid personally by the district for those. And what about those events when they have traditionally worked essentially at no charge? I tend to agree with you. It seems to me that the only way to bring any consistency to the use of reserves is that every group gets treated the same, whether it's reserves or regulars, regardless of what type of officer is assigned. Then they fall under a broad city policy, which we already established discounts for groups that have a different status. Do we co-sponsor? Are they nonprofit? Are they for-profit? And there, whether it's police staff assigned, fire staff assigned, or use of facilities, they all get an equal discount. If you're nonprofit, you get a certain discount. There are a couple of events that traditionally have gotten what I'd call a very deep discount, and those have continued because they've been getting a deep discount for decades, like the Montrose Parade. It's always gotten a pretty deep discount, and it continues, but those are the rare exceptions. So I tend to look at it, I think, the way you're suggesting, which is we need to bring some consistency. That's what the chief is going to be trying to implement by making sure everything goes through his office. I think the events at which reserves have worked essentially gratis have been few and far between.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, there may be one or two a year. But it does raise the question, why do they get reserves and not pay, and why do we have, we're also a community event, why do we have to use regular officers?
I assume there's a
pay?
list. There's a list somewhere that has because I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what events are getting the deep discounts and which aren't. So
sure.
I'd like to have a published list of what.
Sure.
For example, what do we charge for Oktoberfest? Do we get it? Do they get a discount?
I think you get a nonprofit event discount, I would imagine.
Just offhand, I don't know exactly what Oktoberfest would be. A nonprofit would normally pay the direct costs associated. So the
That's
city
right,
isn't
not overhead.
Yeah, but they wouldn't pay the overhead. The general rule, and there are exceptions to that, as Mr. Starbird indicated, there have been some exceptions that have gone back literally decades. The general rule is a for-profit pays the direct costs plus the overhead costs. That's what a for-profit would do. A nonprofit would normally pay the direct costs with no overhead costs. And then the city co-sponsor could be at a whole variety of different places, all the way from the department just absorbs the costs to the city council has at times allocated funds to provide for staff services associated. That's the general.
But I know we do have a written policy that denotes what the discount is for nonprofit, community versus for-profit. And in that policy is a list of the traditional groups, of which maybe two or three. I think Oktoberfest is probably one of those.
It is.
It used to be Verdugo, a Days of Verdugo.
Yeah, the Days of Verdugo was
and that's the issue I have a problem with. Oktoberfest, and no offense to my German friends, actually my wife is partly German, but nevertheless, that's an event that there are more beer kegs on the street that I have hair on my head.
Well, and
then we give them a discount, and then we have all these police officers running around after it's over, making sure that people are not driving half drunk.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
That's one event. If anything, there shouldn't be any discount. It should be a surcharge.
Yeah, let me say, I might have spoke out of turn because I don't know. That just strikes me as an event that's been around for a long time.
Prepare a report or something.
I will bring you back a full report with the policy.
We have a list because in that case, it probably isn't discounted from the standpoint that the city is absorbing costs. Oktoberfest, I would imagine, would be one where they would be paying the direct costs, but not the overhead costs.
Bring a report back.
Because they're two different things.
We'll bring you the full policy and those groups that receive it and those that don't.
In addition, I'd like to agendize a discussion on what events the city decides, the city sponsors, and who decides that.
Okay.
Because I think the council ought to be deciding if it's a city-sponsored event. nobody else.
And I think one thing that is missing in here, in this criteria, which you did not spell out, I think it needs either in the form, I think it probably be best in the form to mention some of these criterias. So when somebody's filling out the form, they know right off the bat. If you're a for-profit organization, you're going to pay the full price and overhead. If you're a nonprofit, if it's 501c3, it's a certain amount. If it's a C4, it's a certain amount. If it's a co-sponsored, it's a certain amount. So people know right off the bat. Okay. They have no high expectations.
Let's let staff go back and digest all this, okay? We do have one speaker. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and I want everybody to know in the public that I certainly do appreciate the efforts of Chief Adams and the regular officers and the reserve officers. I think looking over the materials, I think that on the form that was put together, there's no indication for a nonprofit status. It's just check off the list. And I do believe this entire matter came up because there was a for-profit company that had an event at the Alex Theater. And that for-profit company, Miss Asia contest, pageant, on which our esteemed mayor sits on their executive committee, receive services from the city of Glendale, including 7 reserve officers and 6 police cars, according to public records, for the Miss Asia contest. Now, Miss Asia is not a nonprofit in any way, shape, or form. It is not a C3, a C4, a C6. It is a for-profit California corporation and received the largesse of this council, of this police department, services that other for-profit or the football teams pay directly. The Unity Fest has a charge, a transfer charge, back and forth. But yet, if you're the city mayor, you can receive these free services. 7 officers, 6 patrol cars. Now, the officers work for free. There is a cost of that equipment. The radios, the teleprinters, and all of the equipment that is in that police car. Somebody has to be responsible for it. Just us, the taxpayers. So I think it's time that this council looked at some of these issues on conflict of interest and the fact that people who sit on this dais are taking advantage of their position in the city. And I'm Barry Allen with Vanguard, and we're here for accountability, and that is accountability. Thank you.
Number 1, Chief Adams, is any group charged for the use of the police cars?
Mayor Weaver, the only time there's a charge for the police units and so forth is when there's an overhead charge incorporated into the billing process. And just as a point of clarification, in the report that you have, that document in there requesting reserves and so forth is an internal document. That's not a public document that's used by.
Oh, I see. So this is not a.
Right. That's an internal document that would be filled out by someone in our department once they had received a special event request or something where they said they wanted reserves and that type of thing. So it's just it's a tool for utilization within the organization. The one thing that you do not have that's part of this packet that maybe we can bring back at a future time is the actual special event application.
And Chief, either you or Mr. Howard would like to ask, because it was mentioned again that I got special treatment as mayor. Under the rules we've operated under, I made a request in writing to you, Chief, which was granted for the Miss Asia pageant. Did I get any special treatment by asking if I could use them or the cost or whatever? I don't care who answers that. Did I? Because I am insulted again when I'm accused of getting special treatments by anybody in this city, because I do not. I ask And if I'm granted for whatever it is, the cost of whatever, that's what I agree to.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I can answer that from the standpoint that if you or any council member makes any request of the department, we treat that very seriously, and we look at that, and we try to deal with that the best that we can.
Do I get special treatment?
You don't get any more special treatment than anybody else on the council.
Did Mr. Weaver end up paying for it? Or Ms. Asia paid for those officers' use?
No, they were voluntarily assigned to that event.
Did you know that they were for-profit organization?
No.
If you knew they were for-profit organization, would you have charged them?
It's a possibility. Certainly in retrospect, now looking back over the stir and the controversy over this, our concern is that maybe we ought to be charging for reserve services, period, no matter what the event is, because our concern is that we don't want the appearance of playing favorites to anyone. And so that's not what our reserve program has ever been about, or anything that we do at the department has ever been about. What it's been about is trying to provide services to the benefit of the community, to any event that we think is of benefit to this city.
Right, but the issue in here isn't reserves. You could have used regular police officers. The reserves may have not been available that day, and you may have had to use regular police officers, which in that part you would have had to charge.
Correct.
Okay. It just had happened that day you were able to field it with the...
Yes, we were.
Chief, are you saying that council members then get special treatment?
No. I'm not saying that the mayor or the council members get special treatment, but what
Not anymore.
But what you do get,
I never wanted to begin
what you
with.
do get, and it's common with every city, is that as the policymakers of this city, if you make a request of this department head or any other department head, you can be certain that we treat that very seriously and that we look into that and deal with that in as efficient of a manner as possible.
And I gave you all the information you wanted in my request to you. I was not told to identify if it was a for-profit or a non-profit. I stated that this event, I brought it to Glendale. It's in its third years. I've used your reserves for 3 years at no cost, and it was for the benefit of Glendale. Like the event made nationwide TV this year, coming from the historic Alex Theater in Glendale. My understanding that was good for Glendale to do events that promoted this city. So I resent anybody thinking I'm getting special treatment, because I don't, and I don't want it. Mr. Howard, did I break any law or anything?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I did look at this issue relative to any potential FPPC Political Reform Act violation, and the answer is no, you did not. You gained nothing. There was no personal financial gain. There was no gain. You are not a manager, director, or shareholder of Miss Asia or the corporation that runs it. The executive committee, as it's been so stated, is nothing more than shall we say, an opportunity by a corporation to try to market itself by using individuals on a roster. But everyone, as I'm aware of, with 2 exceptions, and that's I believe a director and an assistant director that actually puts on the pageant, are volunteers and are unpaid.
So make it clear, I don't want special treatment. If anybody can prove that I'm getting special treatment, come forth. I just love to air it on TV, because I don't, and I resent being told I get it. And anybody sitting in the audience smirking like you, Mr. Allen, you should be the last one to talk about it. I'm not getting special treatment. I don't ask for it. And you've done nothing but hurt the police department and the fire department and the public service department and every branch in this city, Mr. Allen, and you don't mind it. You have made 171 requests for public information in 12 months, costing this city probably $250,000 of the taxpayers' money, and you sit there and smirk about it. Congratulations. I know I will be featured in the next article of Vanguard. But you deserve just what you get. 171 requests. Why don't you run for council, get up here, then you won't have to request anything more. Then you can be the big kahuna sitting up here, and you can say, I'm a council member, give me everything I want. I get special treatment. Why don't you try that on for size? Okay, this is a motion to note and file. Anybody want to note and file it? Direction?
I think there was another card, but I want to throw in a
Oh,
question.
yes, another one I got.
I want to throw in a question to the chief. Just when you come back with the report, I want to give you a hypothetical, and please answer that in the report, or if you feel comfortable now. Let's say I'm hosting the Great Western Chili Cook-Off in Verdugo Park, and I've
Sounds good.
arranged for 8 officers, whether reserve or whether paid. And we get news that morning that the people for the ethical treatment of animals are going to come and protest that event. And all of a sudden, you realize that staffing is too low, you have to bump it by 10 officers or 20 officers. Do I get charged for that extra protection? And I know I'm just throwing it at you, but that's the type of thing that, if you could respond to in the report, or if you feel comfortable now responding to it, that I think that situation has arisen in the past and may arise in the future, and as long as we could maybe spell that out in our policy, or at least raise that issue, I think that would be helpful in terms of setting our priorities on that.
Councilman Najarian, my intent would be, yes, you would get charged. As I stated earlier in my presentation, what we're going to try to do is staff every special event with the minimum number of people necessary to police that event in order to try to hold the expenses down for the promoter of that event. But if that event is so controversial or creates a problem that taxes police services and requires us to call in additional people and so forth and incur additional expenses, our intent would be to put into that permit the responsibility for those expenses to be paid by whoever was promoting that event.
Thank you.
Just don't use any endangered species meat in that chili.
Well,
Then you won't have to worry
any
about
kind
it.
of animal product could be objectionable.
Tofu chili.
One more speaker. Milano, 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Herbert Molano, Mayor Weaver, members of the City Council, city staff. As I was sitting in the audience, I couldn't help but think about this particular issue of asking for the reserves for this particular private affair. I want to, at this time, recognize our police chief, Adams, for a candid presentation and his position with regard to this issue. I believe that whether a particular course of action taken by a specific city councilman or mayor is illegal or not illegal, I don't think that is necessarily the basic question. Is whether or not the appearance of impropriety is at stake. So I think the question was not really well placed to Mr. Scott Howard. You know, because at the end of the day, it is our trust in government that is at stake here. Many of the actions that were taken during the campaign, some people would say that they're probably immoral or unethical. Promises that are made that are not kept, they're not illegal. You know, favoritism being given to someone, whether it's not necessarily illegal, but it gives all the appearance that this is not right with the way that we see our city councilman or a mayor perform. At the end of the day, that appearance of impropriety or the appearance of ethical behavior is incredibly crucial for us to have. And I think that is the legacy that we want to leave behind. And I trust that most of you, and I have a significant amount of respect for the councilman and for your energy and effort that you put into the city. But I think at the end of the day, sometimes we forget, especially as we sit in the dais for years and years, that we get perhaps sometimes a little too comfortable and too overconfident. I would like to see more disclosure, and I think that's what some of us are trying to do, clear and open disclosure of our policies. Thank you very much.
Well, it's nice to know Glendale, California is the only city in the state of California, or let alone the United States of America, or the county or state or federal government that has this immoral, unethical issue to deal with. Everybody else is clean. We just got to clean up our act in this city. You can raise these questions of moral and ethics. It's all in the eyes of the beholder. And if you want to go down that street, then you're not going to have anybody sitting up here, because everybody's going to have some kind of conflict somewhere. That's reality. Just ask the governor, ask the mayor of L.A., whatever. Well, let's not go on all day on this.
I was going to make a motion.
I was going to second it.
Oh, well, you made the motion, you seconded it.
Oh, wait a
Okay,
second.
to
I was
note
going to
and
make it.
file.
Hold on.
You already made a lot of comments.
I wasn't going to make the motion to note and file. I was going to make a motion to have the chief of police come back with the report, some of the stuff that we asked, within the next 4 weeks, in 4 weeks. So this way, this doesn't kind of go and disappear, and we have to deal with it a year later.
May I ask if
I want to
that's
get it
doable?
in 4 weeks, Mr.
You said it's okay.
Yeah, and they had some questions, so we can bring that up. And in that time, Mr. City Manager, when he comes back, I think maybe there needs to be a little bit broader agenda item. So we could talk about maybe a process that we need to follow ourselves as council. If we have events, maybe we should make city manager the clearinghouse or whatever, so this way the department heads don't get in trouble. So that may be something that we may want to include.
Looking forward to that.
Do I look like a deer in the headlights of an oncoming car?
Yes, you do. You do right now. I think we better talk about it when it comes back.
If Mr. Starbird's not speaking up, maybe I will say something. Initially, I noted that the first question, at least we were assuming that it was going to relate to the reserves and clarifying the policies and providing more clarity to the procedures. By broadening it, I'm just wondering if 4 weeks is going to be enough time.
Okay, then I'll wait.
And that's why I'm throwing the question out really for the city manager.
If I can, it depends on what, I mean, there have been lots of topics touched on here. For example, the broader policy, the current written policy, and groups who receive, I'll call them the deep discounts, for the policy for discount, whether it's police services or other city services. Mr. Quintero asked for that matter to come back. Further refinement of the reserves policy.
And who decides who sponsors?
That's right, and your request on what are the circumstances by which the city, quote-unquote, co-sponsors events, of which there are some serious co-sponsorships, and there are just lending our name as recently with the
When you do
Momentum
that,
event.
that affects the rate structure, too.
So we've got kind of three parts to this thing. It may be difficult to pull all that together within 4 weeks. We can certainly bring one of them back, depending on which one happens
To do all that, how long would you want?
Oh, give us 6 weeks, I think, to put something together.
I'll make a motion for 6 weeks. And please, at the time you bring that back, could you also include the application that public generally
That's
fills?
the special event.
Special event
Sure.
form, yeah. So.
It's been moved and seconded. No more discussion. Roll call, please.
Council members Manukian,
You want to abstain?
No, but
In 6 weeks?
yeah,
You're going to be gone?
no, I'm just going to vote no on this. I think we've done enough of a political hack job today, and let's move on to something else. But I disagree with a lot of things that were said today. I'm just going to vote no on it. So,
Appreciate your honesty.
okay.
Najarian,
Well, I'm not hacking anybody, nor do I intend to, but I'll say yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Yusefian,
No hacking, yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Let's see where it goes. Yes. Okay. Next, please.
8B is Director of Administrative Services regarding establishing a bidding process and a formal limit. 8B1 is ordinance for introduction.
Okay, I have two speakers on this item.
Would you like a staff report, Mr. Mayor?
How brief can you make it?
Well, Mr. Franz can do it justice briefly, I think.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Bob France for Administrative Services. When the charter was amended, there was a provision added that established the city council as setting a bid limit. Previously, the bid limit had been set by a specific charter amount, a charter provision, which meant there had to be a charter amendment to change that amount or increase it. We've provided you with information on why we think it should be set at $100,000, and I might say there's really two important things here. One is the bid amount, and the secondly is the procedure that would be adopted by the City Council. That procedure applies for award of bids less than $100,000. It is a ordinance that cannot be changed by staff. It is set by council, so it provides some protections that do not exist today for the bidding process for those contracts awarded less than $100,000. Regarding the $100,000 amount itself, we've set that amount to be equal to what applies to all general law cities in the state. Those are the
some of the smaller cities, our general law cities, and also is equal to what Burbank has said as their contract amount. Pasadena is at $75,000, and so on. You have a list of cities at the various amounts. That concludes the staff report. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Manukian.
Well, what is going to be the process of, and who's going to be approving these contracts? I'm very hesitant about $100,000 limit for any type of contract that could be approved without bids.
It's not.
It might seem in the
No. It's not. It cannot be approved without bids. The procedure that is adopted by ordinance that is recommended here requires a process where at least 5 bids are obtained. That cannot be modified.
100,000 not coming to council.
Not coming to council for award.
I'm still concerned about that, and that's what I meant. What is the process that is going to be used in terms of the approval of these? Well, because I've seen many instances where the lowest bids did not necessarily get the contract. So what is the process that you're going to use to have the lowest bid receive the contract? Is it get approved? Does the lowest bid get approved automatically?
Why don't we
who
read
approves
it? Why don't we read it? It's
There's
on
9,
page 2 of the staff report, and it's very much like a formal bidding process. It just doesn't have to go on an agenda. Step number 1, requesting department submit specifications to purchasing. Purchasing reviews the specifications for completeness and competitiveness. Purchasing works out with the department on any revisions or changes prior to releasing the specifications. 2, a list of prospective bidders is developed. The requesting department advises purchasing of any prospective vendors they may be aware of, and purchasing uses a variety of sources, including prior respondents, bidder registrations, yellow pages, contractor listings, and the Internet to source additional requests. At least 5 qualified vendors are solicited. The request for quote...
Who determines which vendors are solicited?
Going to be purchasing. Correct?
Correct.
Purchasing. The request for quotation is mailed to all prospective vendors which have been identified, posted on the city's website, and placed on the public counter. Anyone requesting a copy of the RFQ is provided one. Responses to the RFQ are received, time-stamped in, and placed in a file drawer. The competitive bids are opened and read publicly at the time and place designated in the RFQ. The vendors and prices quoted are recorded on forms designated for that purpose. Step 6, the bids received are reviewed by the purchasing administrator, and the lowest responsible bidder meeting the specifications is identified. Purchasing then forwards their recommendation, and the response is received to the requesting department for their review, recommendation, and the approval of the department executive. Upon return of the bid package to purchasing, the purchase order is prepared for release pending the receipt and approval of all required insurance documents.
Who's the department executive?
In case of Public Works, Steve Zern.
Okay. Directors of the department.
The directors of the departments.
Mr. Quintero and Mr. Yosefian.
Well, I think the process is fine, and it seems to be orderly and efficient, but I think the 100,000 is too high. I'd be more interested in 50 or 75 at the max, but I think 50 would be more than adequate.
Mr. Yosefian.
And that's where I am. I'm at about 50. I think this was one of the items that Charter Commission grappled with a lot, going back and forth, not knowing what to do. There were a lot that they did not want to change it, so ultimately what they decided to do is let the council make a decision. They can live by their own sword, they can die by their own sword. So I tend to think, let's start slow and see how it goes.
Would you like to hear from
So I'm for 50.
I'd like to hear from the public first. Okay, thank you. Mr. France, first speaker, Barry Allen, 2 minutes, followed by Mr. Herbert Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and the public. I certainly agree with some of the deliberation, but there are some other significant things that are involved. First of all, there's no oversight. The council, if somebody has a complaint about the way a bid was handled, what do they do? Where do they go? Who do they address it to? Because part of the ordinance reads non-competitive. The other thing that I think is very, very important. If you look at some of the contracts, especially in public works, and especially where they're big contracts, you know, millions of dollars, and when you start looking at the change orders can take a $50,000, $49,000 contract and bump it way over that threshold. How are you going to deal with that? Are you going to bring it back? Is Mr. Zern or one of the other department heads going to come back and say, well, the one you approved or the one that you didn't approve at $35,000 is now $135,000? When are you going to look at that? How are you going to be able to determine whether it was a favoritism issue, whether it was just poor planning, or whether the material costs went up? Because it comes out of the budget. And when you budget those funds, you know, there's not always the magic wand that you can wave and all of a sudden, you know, $200 million in impact fees fall at your feet. You're going to have to know where those funds are coming and how they're going and where they're going. And I think you need to have change order information in there. You need to have some sort of an oversight committee that's going to review the problems that are going to come up with this. 50,000 certainly is a much better number than 100,000, and certainly $5,000 and $10,000 and $15,000 bids shouldn't be taking up all the council's time. Barry Allen for Vanguard.
Herbert Milano.
Good evening, Mayor Weaver, members of the City Council. My name is Herbert Milano. As I've looked at any policies that the city may take to streamline their operations, I'm one of those individuals who are very much in favor of it. The more productive you are, the better off the taxpayers will be. Although, having experience with contracts and having received requests for proposals for many, many decades, well, a couple of decades, I generally know sometimes how the process can be circumvented. And Mr. Allen brought a couple of good points. I was thinking along the lines of establishing a fictitious limit. You know, to say, well, let's take this $150,000 contract and split it into 3 separate contracts of $50,000 each, let's say. The issue, of course, is accountability. When you work for civil service, you have pretty much a guaranteed position. And even though I trust the integrity of the people who are eventually responsible for it, I do know a little bit more about the history of many contracts here in Glendale. And so adding some semblance of accountability to this thing would be really nice to have. I did not read this thing as thoroughly. My main objective of presenting the card was to have a little bit more deliberative process here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Najarian.
I have some questions of Mr. Franz, perhaps. I see that the $15,000 limit was set in 1982. Can you tell us what the CPI change, what the index has been since 82 till today? And aside from the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, I believe there must be such a thing as the Construction Price Index.
There is.
Do you have any, can you give us any information on those figures relating 2006 to 1982?
We did run the comparison at Mr. Weaver's request. For the 15,000 would be, I believe it was 35 or 37,000 today, just applying the CPI. If we use the construction index, which we did not run that number because we didn't have easy access to that much history, it would be greater than that. How much more is hard to say because, like I say, we just don't have the data going back to 1982.
And I guess my point is that we should definitely not be any lower than the Construction Price Index. I think most of these projects are capital improvements, public works, steel, concrete, asphalt, wiring, lamps, electric, things like that. So if I would feel comfortable if we were at least to keep our head above water in terms of the price increase and not get too far ahead of us. But I think that number alone, I don't want to guess, maybe Mr. Yusefian knows a little more, but 15,000 in construction in 1982 has got to be pretty near 100,000.
No, it's not.
It's more.
Well,
It's actually less.
It's less?
It's less.
It's less than 15,000.
It is 15,000 in 1980s. It's probably between 45 to 55,000 today.
That's about the range I'm comfortable in. If that's assuming
Well,
you're correct.
I don't understand.
I mean, I'm going based on what you could have gotten something for 1980 and what I would have to charge you today for the same thing. And
Yep, loaf of bread, yesterday and today. They're different.
and so his index is right, which is 35,000.
It
But
went up and down
but-
and then up.
right. But if you include the cost of construction,
In the
it comes
area
down a little bit, but not as much as the CPI goes. 50,000, you're there.
All
You're
I-
covered.
All I can go by is 20 years as a project manager, and I know in the Corps of Engineers, if we had limits that were too low, and it just created all kinds of heck in the city, so we eventually raised the ceilings up. And I'm not uncomfortable with 100,000 based on my own personal history. I look here, Burbank, $100,000. Long Beach and Santa Monica, $100,000. Berkeley, Lompoc, San Luis Obispo, $100,000. Now, you can throw out Los Angeles and San Diego that have $1 million, little bigger cities. But the prevailing trend in other cities seem to be $100,000. So personally, I'm comfortable with the $100,000 figure.
And it's not that I'm saying that the staff is out there trying to take this money and put it in their pocket. I mean, I trust them to do something. And my thing is, I think we should go up incrementally. This year, let's do 50,000. If everything is okay, we don't have a lot of hearings. Next year, add another 50,000. And I don't have a major issue with
Mr.
that. I just
Starberg
want
going
to
to
do
make
it a
a
little
note
bit
of
at a
that,
time.
that you come back next year and ask for 50 more?
Well, having sat in on the Charter Commission meetings, including this one, one of the reasons that that at least a portion of them argued to leave this matter to the City Council was so it can be adjusted periodically as needed. Granted, it takes an ordinance to do that, but it can be adjusted as opposed to embedding it in the charter, which means that once every decade or 20 years you can update it. So, frankly, if we find that prices continue to rise and we're finding that today's 50,000 is like yesterday's 15, we'll bring it back to you again.
But you did recommend 100,000.
Oh, absolutely, and we think 100,000 is reasonable, but if the council is uncomfortable, we'll take, frankly, anything above 15 we can get because it'll make our life easier.
In your court, but I think I might be losing. Mr. McFall?
What I'd like to do, Mr. Mayor, members of council, is address two legitimate issues that were brought up. The first is a matter of change orders. And what I conferred with the purchasing administrator to make sure that I get this information right. But these have been practices that have been in place for years, somewhat at times of frustration to the existing departments because the purchasing administrator has very rigorous purchasing standards that he is compelled to adhere to. The first thing is that even under the purchase order, legislatively, the department would still be compelled to whatever ceiling the city council establishes. So you can't arbitrarily exceed that, exceed the amount legislative that's established by council. And maybe that you want to embed some kind of language in the ordinance to make that even clearer, but that's exactly how the purchasing administrator operates now. The second, on splitting contracts, as departments know, it is the longstanding practice of under purchasing standards that you cannot split the contracts. If, in fact, the purchasing administrator senses that a department is splitting a contract in order to defeat what the council has legislatively established, he will send that back. I mean, he is the one who ferrets that out. He is responsible for doing that, and he does that not only this purchasing administrator, but traditionally they all have done that very well. So departments know that you can't split the contract in order to defeat the intent of the policy the council has established.
Okay, this is an ordinance for introduction. Mr. Yosefian?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to introduce the ordinance at 8B1 with 50,000.
Okay, it's been introduced. It'll be on for adoption 2 weeks? Next week. Okay, what is next, please?
At 8C is Director of Public Works regarding installation of radar speed display signs at 2 alternative locations as directed by City Council. At 8C1, motion installing radar speed display signs at various locations in the city.
Okay, Mr. Starbird,
Mr. Mayor.
Or are you going to Mr. Zern or Mr. Yusefian?
Mr. Mayor, I read the staff report. I must tell you, I have jet lag because
Yeah, we're waiting for it to kick in.
to me, it's in the morning now.
We're waiting for it to kick in.
You're waiting for it to kick in. A lot of coffee, a tremendous amount of coffee. I took time to read all the stuff. I want to thank the staff who prepared this report because it was very helpful. When I read the agenda item, I went to myself, how do I make this decision? And then I read further into the staff report. It made it very easy for me to go with number 1 and number 4. Why? Based on the percent of the speed that they had provided.
Right.
Apparently number 1 and number 4, both of them have the greatest amount of 85 percentile, and both of them happen to be around elementary and a middle school.
Thank you. We're thinking
So that
alike.
was the
We're thinking alike for
easy
once.
decision.
He and me, we're thinking alike.
And kudos, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, go to Mr. Coe, who is sitting in the audience, who did all the legwork on this.
Thank you, Mr. Coe.
Thanks.
Good job. Made my life easy.
Well, how about 2 and 3? What are your comments on that?
There's a mile and a half difference on number 2, and about 3 on number 3, and they're not around the schools as much as the others.
Right.
It's not to say that they are weak, but when you compare to ones around
I have
schools,
2, so I put them.
we have 2 choices. So around schools, and the biggest delta in terms of increase in speed, measured speed over the posted speed. So it made it easy for me too. I don't know about 3 others.
Well,
Mr.
for
Quintero.
me, I'm more interested in, I agree, number 1, but I'm also interested in number 3, because I believe that particular stretch on Kenyatta really, I find it hard to believe that there's only a 3 mile an hour over the speed limit. When were these surveys taken, Mr. Coe? For how long a period of time? Was it during the summer? What?
Actually, Mr. Mayor,
Wayne, introduce yourself.
Wayne Cole from the Traffic and Transportation Division. Mr. Mayor, Council Member Quintero, the speed survey is probably done sometime in early 2000. We are required to do speed surveys every 5 years. So that's
Okay, so that was done approximately 6 years ago. I
Correct,
think the
that's
speeding's improved, but I'm sure they have across all of the streets that we're looking at. It's not the only one. But anyway, for me, I'm interested in number 1 and number 3.
And actually, may I add one piece of information that is not in the report, and we just have the database completed last week, is the speed-related accidents. If you look at La Crescenta, Vidugo, Kenyatta, those about 3 in 5 years, 3 to 5 in 5 years. The segment on Glendale between Palmer and Los Feliz, we had 24 in 5 years, speed-related accidents.
So number 4 had 24.
24 in 5 years.
And number 1, 2, 3 had 3.
Actually, 1 is 3, 2 is 3, 3 is 5.
Wait. Start again. Number 1,
La Crescenta 3.
Okay, the next
Vidugo 3.
Oh.
Kenyatta 5. And for some reason, Glendale between Palmer and Los Feliz 24.
Well, for some reason, you're a traffic engineer. Tell us the reason. I think there's more traffic down on this.
Well, actually, the reason is it's carrying a lot more traffic, actually. Yes, it's carrying about 25,000 cars a day, and that's why the accident
How many does Kenyatta carry?
So
Kenyatta is,
three and
okay.
4 then.
Kenyatta is carrying roughly about 31,400, and then Vidugo 5,600, La Crescenta 8,900.
And
3 and 4.
And Kenyatta is 31,000?
31,400, yes.
And Glendale is
Glendale
24?
is 25,400.
5,000 approximately. I'm with 3 and 5. 3 and 4.
3 and 4. So, yeah.
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Option number 5 is
Okay.
off the table.
So I'll make a
We got-
motion
we
for
got-
3 and 4.
Second.
Do you have cards?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait up. How
Thank
many?
you for that last minute information.
I haven't heard from Mr. Najarian. How many did you?
3 and 4. I'll go with 3 and 4 based on the speed,
Reports.
delta speed, and accidents.
So we're going more in accidents because the
both.
delta on 1 is greater. Okay.
and the volume, I guess.
Okay, well, we're going to get more of those signs some days.
Yeah, hopefully we will.
Next
Okay,
year.
motion and a second, but now
You-
we have a speaker, Herbert Milano, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. My name is Herbert Milano, members of the City Council, City staff. It was kind of interesting to read the results of this study because it highlights one of the issues that I've had with regard to traffic in other parts of the city, in finding out, like, what is our average speed or, for other thoroughfares like Colorado or Brand. Although they don't have the speeding problem, we actually have the opposite problem of cars perhaps going too slowly year after year after year. Nonetheless, I wanted to tie in a topic that I brought in front of you, before you many times, which is, what are the expected outcomes? We do know the percentage of speed above the established speed limit, but what are the expected outcomes? Are the expected outcomes a reduction in traffic accidents by 50%? Is the outcome a reduction in the speed to the posted limit? How do you measure those results? How long will they be sustainable? How often will you repeat the tests? These are the concepts of the balanced scorecard, so that whenever you establish policy and decide to budget for something, that you have a target objective as to what it is that you want to achieve. And I would love to hear, perhaps, our engineer to elucidate a little bit more what the objectives are and how do we measure those and how to measure success. Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
One thing, could we get a report from you in a year from now
Absolutely.
to let us know if the number of the accidents, what happened to them?
Absolutely. We can give you speed-related issues, whether those are motorist to motorist, motorist to ped, and so forth. And I think, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Yusefian, in August, when we first presented this to you, I mentioned, while these are hardwired and go on a pole,
Right.
they aren't. It isn't that if we find that they aren't providing the kind of notification, we can move them somewhere else. And it's not the last signs that we're going to put. We found these to be very valuable. Other agencies have found them to be very valuable. I see us putting more.
But if we do some kind of a survey, we will know if these things work. Because if they don't work, and we have some of these things around and they don't work, maybe we shouldn't spend our money in this type of devices. Maybe we should spend our money in something else.
They are using these devices in addition to the cameras at the intersections all over the Phoenix area. They are everywhere. I mean, multi-lane roads, you name it, they've got them everywhere.
We will definitely come back with a report on
Let's do a roll call.
So motion. A second.
Council members Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Yusefian.
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Next, please.
At 8D is Director of Public Works regarding Adams
you have a card on
Streetscape Improvement Project Phase 2 at 8D1 Resolution of Appropriation.
Move 81.
Second. Now let's wait. Is this a card on 8D? 8D.
You were too
Margaret
slow.
Hammond, 2 minutes.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and staff. Having lived in where I live on Adams Hill for 50 years, it is it's wonderful to see all the improvements that have been put in, and we're most appreciative. The one that you're doing right now, I am not appreciative. You're taking where we used to have like 5 lanes, 2 each way, or 2 one way and 3 the other way. We're going down to 1. It's almost impossible to make a left turn off of Chevy Chase onto Adams. It's horrendous. There's only 1 lane, and you have to wait till all that traffic and then try to get through. And now they are cutting it down by putting some kind of a big, huge bump on the right-hand side of the street, in front of where the library will be, and which is cutting it down to 2 lanes. Before, there was a left turn lane that people could go out on Chevy Chase or go straight up Adams or make a right turn and go up Chevy Chase. Go along Chevy Chase to go north, which was great to get the traffic. I don't quite get the kick. I know they're talking about it slows down traffic, but I think it just makes traffic back up in that area. which is causing more problems. I mean, we're really kind of getting more, I don't know what you would call it, at that corner of Chevy Chase and Adams. You know where I mean? Right there where they put in that little parquet thing or whatever with the fountain and all that, where Revo is.
Let me ask you a question. You were involved with the original, when they designed this thing? They went out and they showed it to everyone?
I didn't think it was a good idea to cut it down. I didn't understand because I know what traffic is like.
But you had seen it?
I saw it and I objected at the time, but now they're doing it, so.
It's a project that was approved. This is just the second part of the funding.
Well,
So the
I know,
project's
but it's
already
kind of, it's really making
water
that
under the
corner
bridge.
bad for traffic. The other thing is you're working on Glendale Avenue and you're working on Brand Avenue at the same time, which the traffic, 25,000 cars on Glendale, it's horrendous. The traffic is horrendous in those areas.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on this one?
Yes, there is, and there is a second.
There was a second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Menuchyan,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Next, please.
At 8E is Director of Planning regarding approval and findings regarding 2644 Kennington Drive, conditional use permit, case number 10750-CU at 8E1, motion granting conditional use permit and making findings.
I have one card.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, Rick Barnes, 2 minutes.
Mayor, City Council, staff, my name is Rick Barnes, and again, I wanted to come in and say thank you for this, and I think this is what the Hillside Ordinance was set up for, was to be able to come in and let someone build. It took some discussion, it took a lot of discussion, but I think that was the decision was the right decision. And again, I wanted to come up and at least thank you and let you know that there's other people out there that believe that building the right type of home in that community is the right way to do it. So thank you. The other part is I want to let you know that I think it's okay for me to come up and advertise as other people do. And so I just wanted to let you know that this is my phone number and how to reach me. Thank you.
That's good, Rick. That's good. Mr. Menuchyan?
Yes, question. On the motion, we have the average current slope of the subject lot, which is listed at 71%. Last time it was pointed out that it was less than 71%. And that 71% was calculated based on the footprint of the house, which it shouldn't have. I believe it was around 65 or something like that.
64%.
Right.
Do you want to change that?
Yes, I think it should be.
If the majority of
correct.
the council feels that the evidence supports 64% versus 71%, then that's what the findings should be. The findings are based on the evidence.
Right.
Oh.
So, 64%?
Based on the engineer's presentation. it was-
64%.
Support engineers.
You can still vote on it tonight. We'll make that change administratively.
Okay.
Okay. Now, is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Menuchyan,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
No.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Okay, now let me ask a question. Do any of my colleagues have any comments on 9B?
Yes, one.
Because 9A could take us a couple hours.
His question could be about an hour long, you know.
No.
Well-
I'll tell you what it is. I went through the.
Well,
You
yes,
wanna
read
read that?
9B, get it out of the way.
Please.
One question.
Can I read
After I
it?
open the public hearing and close it. Run 9B.
Read
Read
9B.
9B.
9B, Director of Planning regarding proposed building and planning fees for planning services at 9B1, resolution adopting new and changed fees.
Thank you. We don't need a briefing. I'll open the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Mr. Yusefian.
Yes, one item, and that's the appeal for BZA, HPC, EPB, or City Council, and this is $500, and it's gone to $550. At the time, it used to be about $1,350. We reduced this thing to $500, thinking that, let people have a chance. What has happened is, since then, people have tried to abuse this thing, and they're just appealing things on both sides. Applicants, they don't get what they like, they keep appealing it, and appellants do the same thing. It goes back and forth. In the meantime, staff is trying to do cost recovery, and the amount of time for staff to do all the stuff and put it in
$500
there,
fee?
Yeah.
it's the same thing. I think that 500 should be at least 1,000.
Where is that?
It's on first page. It says page 1. Page 1, right here, page 1.
And Mr. Mayor, it applies to the alternative assessment panel appeals on the next page as well, but the legislation on fees is very specific, and we didn't give notice for the higher fee. If you direct me to bring that back next time I bring fees, I'd be pleased to do that.
Well, for myself.
So how did you change all these fees then?
Because we gave notice
Wait,
before.
everybody's jumping in.
We've given notice, and there's requirement that notice be given.
But you raised all the fees.
I know, and we gave notice in the newspaper, and it's been available. Because you're increasing it so much, maybe the city attorney would want to give comment.
Mr. Howard?
Be clear.
Okay.
Under state law, when you raise certain building and planning fees, you need to not only notice those as a public hearing, but you have to make those proposed fees available to the public a specific period of time before the hearing. It's not just noticing the hearing and having some small publication in a newspaper. You actually have to have the fees available for their review. And they can't even take effect for 60 days after
So
you
if you
adopt
want to
it.
go higher than anything
If you want to go higher
recommended,
than that, we can renotice it on that
Do
one.
this and
You
bring
you
the-
might want to do this one, and we'll bring that one back.
Let's just approve this the way it is, and then let's kind of deal with that later.
And a question, I was trying to push at one time or another that we would start indexing by cost of living all our fee structure, and then every 5 years or so, look and see if we're out of line with what is happening in the area, whether we're too high or too low, rather than have to come back every time and adjust the fee structures. Why didn't we start doing this citywide? I mean, just not on one.
Maybe the city manager.
Well, no, I was going to ask a question whether or not you meet the state law for noticing if you.
And that's the thing
index
we'll have to look at.
I think there was a problem.
A broad general, not specific to this, but just general. Why don't we index our fee structure?
Well, that's
As
what
a
it's
policy
doing.
matter.
This is doing
it.
that.
We
This is doing
I
that.
think what the mayor's suggesting is an automatic increase. And there's
Also,
a
it
question
doesn't come plus-
whether you can do automatic.
And then every 5 years or so,
don't know
the
if
city
you
goes
can do
back
that.
and looks at all the fee structure across the board.
And
Not
Mr.
just
Mayor,
here.
members of the council, with many of those, you can index them, whether it's to an LA Long Beach CPI or some other factor, you can do that. With these type of building and planning fees, we have to take a look at the state legislation to see if we're able to index those.
How about looking at for the future?
And we'll look at it when we bring it back. We'll
Because
bring that
this one is
specific feedback.
increasing by 3.8%, and then a zoning surcharge of 6.7%, and then a technology charge of 5%.
I have to bring to your attention that there's a second set of tables, which includes the technology surcharge, and that was removed at the last minute, and somehow those pages didn't come out. We're not going to propose the technology change until a separate report. Somehow it wound up getting in here. I just noticed it when I was sitting here myself.
So these
If you look at
prices
the
are not
pages
the
before
technology?
it, if you look at the pages before it, there are the fee increases without the technology surcharge. We'll bring that as a separate report after we receive the matrix study. But I would like to take this opportunity to ask Council if you could incorporate something in the resolution. Right at the very end, it says the surcharge 6.7 in addition to fees for building permits and planning department application permits. I'd like you to add in parens, included in planning fees listed above, because the staff wanted the fee to include all the planning costs, including the surcharge, and they've rolled it into the amounts that you have in that resolution. And they neglected, and I didn't catch, that we needed to have a little proviso at the end so that it's clear, these fees include the surcharge for zoning code,
But so we don't
not
roll them up
building.
again.
I don't want to have a double counting on that. But the building fees are not. So it's only the planning fees here, include the surcharge, and building applies it when you adopt it here across the board. So the words to be added would be included in planning fees listed above.
Okay, I'll move with those modifications.
Is there a second? Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Montero,
Yes.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Okay, let's go 9A and try to get out by midnight.
9A is a hearing, City Attorney regarding Handbook for Historic Districts and Zone Change, 2006-04, amending Titles 2, 15, and 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code relating to historic preservation and historic districts. 9A1, motion adopting the revised Handbook for Historic Districts, and 9A2, Ordinance for introduction. At 9A3, ordinance for introduction, option 2.
Okay, now, staff, this isn't the first time this has been here. So are you just on the presentation, just going to highlight the
Exactly.
pertinent changes only?
Mr. Mayor, Tim's just setting up, Tim Foy, Principal Planner, is just setting up, he's a very short summary presentation, but I do want to bring to your attention that there was a repetition in your attachments. The printing this time is just
Where?
very difficult, but it's the same material, just repeated, and
I was wondering why
just
there
makes
was-
more paper. I don't know.
I kept going, is this a difference in here
No,
between these two?
it turns out what you have that's duplicated in your packet
Okay.
is the attachment A2 and ordinance B1. They're just in there twice. There's no difference between one version and the other. It was
Okay.
just,
Thank you.
the Gremlins got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Go
you.
right ahead with the report.
Okay. And tell us which one's alternative A, which one's alternative B.
The council has had several hearings on this. You had a hearing on May 9th and then deferred it to a study session on July 5th, and these were some of the conclusions that the council reached. All of these on here are included in both versions of the
Can I
ordinance.
stop you one thing? All you people get up and speak, I'd like to know your opinions on this, because the last time you weren't here. I know. So I'd like to hear your opinion on these changes that we made.
The first one just says the applicant must be a property owner in the district. The second was the council asked for a slightly simpler petition method. The third is clarifying who's a property owner, just in terms of places that are held in trust or owned by a corporation. And the fourth, I believe, was suggested by Councilmember Najarian to eliminate public agencies from petitions if the city or school district owns land. Again, add some provisions that were already in the handbook, provisions for noticing, add those to the ordinance. Just explain more clearly which facades are affected by design review. It's not a change of policy that we made, just a clearer explanation. And what happens if walls or bushes block the view, and that has been clarified as well. The only issue that seemed to be not concluded in the July study session was whether to have the Historic Preservation Commission or Design Review Board do the design review. As you know, currently, the ordinance designates one DRB. The recommendation coming out of Historic Preservation Commission and Planning Commission were for both DRBs, which is Ordinance A. And there's an alternative provided to you with design review by Historic Preservation Commission, that's Ordinance B. And with that, appeals would go directly to council. The HPC would act as design review board in historic districts for all applications, including infill development. And it's possible eventually the HPC would have to meet more frequently, although, of course, right now there aren't any historic districts, so that's a way in the future. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Please, the staff report. I have a number of cards. Shall we listen to the cards speakers first, and we can debate? I will open up the public hearing. You can start out with Stephanie Landrigan, followed by Peter Fod. Can we try 2 minutes? If you need more, we'll throw it in. Okay, fair enough? You just let me know.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. Stephanie Landrigan, Historic Preservation Commissioner. I am here. I appreciate the July 5th meeting that we had. I think a lot of concerns were addressed. I would be able to work under either one of these options. I do think the option allowing the Historic Preservation Commission to be the design review authority is the one that I would think works best. And
You're clearly objective.
I'm very non-objective on this one.
Thank you for
And
your
thank you very
honesty.
much.
Peter Fod, followed by Dominic Reiner.
Members of council, Mr. Mayor, I'm Peter Ford, president of Northwest Glendale Homeowners. I'm basically here to show the flag. I think we can live with either version of the ordinance. We do appreciate your efforts, and I think the July 5th study session was a good idea. A lot of people throughout this past couple of months have maybe questioned council's credibility and seriousness. I have been a sword carrier for, I think the council is operating in good faith, and I know you want to make this happen, so please make it happen.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Dominic Rayner, followed
Thank you,
by
Mr. Fuad, for carrying our flags.
Dominic Rayner, followed by Sharon Wiseman.
Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Dominic Rayner. I'm a 13-year resident of Glendale, live on Oberlin Drive in Adams Hill. I'm here once again to voice my support for the Council's adoption of the Historic District Handbook and the corresponding changes that will make in the zoning codes. Like many of my neighbours here tonight, I'm wondering why it's taken so long with so much effort on the part of volunteers in the community and city staff to get this historic districting policy up and running. The voice of your constituents is clear. We want to move ahead with the establishment of historic districts while we still have the architectural fabric to justify them. I believe that your mandate is clear also, to take the next logical step in this process and vote unanimously for adoption of the handbook in its entirety and for the modifications to the current zoning codes that are recommended. I really trust that you'll do the right thing tonight and take that one extra step.
Thank you. Sharon Wiseman, followed by John Locascio.
Mayor Weaver, Council, and everyone else listening. I'm Sharon Weissman. I live in far north Glendale, and I'm here to let you know the Historical Society of Crescenta Valley and Crescenta Valley Heritage supports this. The review by the Historic Preservation Commission seems the most logical, but either option is a step forward. And thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for working on this, and we hope you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. John Locascio, followed by Arlene Vidor.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver, council members, staff. My name is John Locascio. I'm an architect. I am co-chair of the Ross Moyne Historic District Committee. And I will be very brief. I don't have a prepared statement tonight because, quite frankly, I don't think there's a whole lot left to say about this. We've talked about it. We've analyzed it. We've vivisected it, held it up to the light, looked under it, over it. There's not much more to do except...
Then talk about it some more.
Let's not talk about it anymore, and let's just do it. Let's approve the handbook tonight. Let's recommend or introduce one of the ordinance options for approval next week, and let's approve it next week, and let's get going with this thing.
Good.
We've taken too much time.
Thank you. Let's hope next week no cards are turned in. Arlene Vidor.
Hello, my name is Arlene Vidor. I'm a resident of Adams Hill. What he said. Thank you.
Well, we just set a record. I thought it'd be midnight before we started talking. Okay, I have no more cards. The public hearing. Oh, come on. Anybody else want to turn in cards? Please, turn them in. I know, but we've been sitting all evening waiting. 2 more cards.
Do you want to close that so there's no more?
I'm going to.
Ask them if
no
there's any
more
more.
cards. Don't do this to us, folks. You know when you walk in, pick up the agenda, if you're going to speak, turn them in. What game are you playing waiting like this? Margaret Hammond, then followed by Michael Tehan.
Yeah, Margaret. What are you playing?
I don't know. She knew she wanted to talk on this.
Well, I wasn't going to, but I do want to voice my support again.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a long haul. The handbook, you know, if you put it in there, it's going to be in, people can look what they need to follow, the rules they need to follow. Get the ordinance through whichever one you think is the best, and we'll be happy with it. And whomever you decide to have doing the reviews will be fine. They're all qualified, they're all good people, and they're all volunteers and work very hard for the city, just like you guys. Thank you.
This is one subject matter I have not got one negative on. Everybody universally, over the months and years, have all said do it. Michael?
I wasn't really going to say anything. I got talked into it at the very last second.
By Margaret?
Yeah,
By Margaret?
Jeez, what a...
Oh, man.
You're excused. She isn't.
My name is Michael Tehan. I'm the president of the Adams Hill Homeowners Association. You know how many people we represent. You know what the support is on this. Just get her done.
You got it. We won't leave here tonight without doing it.
So can I
Okay,
ask
now
a
the
question
public
now?
hearing is closed.
Closed.
Request a study session.
No.
No study
Oh,
session?
no. I request that we just kill him now.
Yeah, over your dead body.
Question. In my attachment, it says a neg deck on the initial study. Do we have to approve the neg deck? Or it was already approved? Because I don't see, if Planning Commission has approved the neg deck, do we have to also approve it?
You know, I'm a little concerned because they were a recommending body and they don't usually approve
Yeah.
them in that
And
situation.
that's what I was wondering,
And that's a very
because
good catch on your part.
ordinance is here, but the neg deck ain't here as part of the motion.
The neg deck is attached, though. So I think what we should
No,
do...
I know, but what I'm saying the motion isn't here.
Can we add it?
The motion's not there, you're correct.
And you should have a motion, we can refer to it prior to
The neg
9A1.
deck first.
It'll be a motion to approve the negative declaration, which is
Okay.
attachment C.
And on the adoptions of the handbooks, if it's 2 or 3, the handbooks are different, correct?
Yes, there's an A version and a B version, depending on which choice, A being DRB review, B being Historic Preservation Commission review. The B version of the handbook goes with it. B2 is if it's HPC, and A2 goes with it.
But we
if
can
it's
approve,
DRB.
we can approve the neg deck now.
You should do the neg
regardless.
deck
Wait.
first.
Okay.
We can approve the neg deck, then the motion for the revised handbook we can do, because the ordinance is introduction.
Right.
So
if
we
you do-
approve the revised handbook now or after?
You have two choices. If you know you have 4 votes for the ordinance, then you would adopt the handbook accordingly. If you're unsure, you could continue that motion
Okay, we're
to
gonna go-
next week
We're
with
going to
the
go to
ordinance.
2 and 3 after we do the neg deck.
Right. Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a motion to approve the neg deck at 9A4, which is not even here.
Second.
Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, do it as
All
4.
right.
9A4, neg deck,
Second.
move and seconded, roll call.
That was actually seconded by Councilmember Quintero. Council members Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
All right, now let's discuss amongst us 2 and 3, because that'll govern if we do 1 tonight, right? Okay, I vote for 2. I'm going to make this fast. I'm going to be out of here by 9:05.
Okay. Then,
Let's have a show of hands. HPC will.
Yeah, how many want design review versus historic?
Let's not go there. Let's not go.
Design,
HPC first.
all right.
and then design review second?
Okay.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, I'll reverse myself. It isn't in it isn't currently in their assignments or duties. I hope you read that. There's a 1213 responsibilities of historic commission, and this is not one of them. So
But it's
we're
been added.
adding it. We'll be adding it tonight.
Being added by the ordinance.
And no matter which body it has to be trained anyway. So they're going to be trained. So with that, Mr. Mayor, can I make this an early evening
there's
and go
somebody
home?
else on the
wait.
dais. Jeez.
Mr. Quintero would like to say something.
Yeah, I think the Historic Preservation Commission is the way to go, and I'm glad that the supporters feel that way. I think we're going to get a more focused and detailed group that'll be able to make the decisions rather than a DRB that deals with development and does a lot of different things.
Mr. Manukian.
Didn't Mr. Yusefian suggest that
Oh,
months ago?
yes. That's why I was against it. So
Now we get the truth.
I want to give you
From
credit.
now on, I'm going to use reverse psychology. Maybe I'll get him on the.
don't worry. There's a trap there.
I just wanted.
No, absolutely not.
I just wanted to introduce the ordinance
Yes,
at
he made the
9A3.
Well, you don't even have to.
You want to put the handbook through?
You can put the handbook through.
Well, that
now you
includes
got
the
votes.
handbook. The handbook goes.
No.
Handbook's a separate motion. We can bring the handbook back next week, so it's.
Well, the handbook
now.
is so. Okay, I will make the motion to adopt the
9A1.
revised handbook for the historic districting that
9A1.
applies to the option 2.
B2.
It's
B2.
Exhibit B2.
You're going to do 9A1, and then you're going to introduce the ordinance for 9A3.
I already introduced the ordinance.
has
I
been
didn't hear
introduced.
you.
He did.
He did.
I didn't ask for it. Oh, what
I
the
did
hell?
anyway.
Okay. Oh, what the heck? Okay, it's introduced.
Remember, your wife is watching. Your
she
phone's
isn't.
going to ring any minute.
She doesn't watch anymore. She
Okay.
gave up.
So,
Oh, wait, Mr. Starbird, before we vote?
Please.
Okay.
Inconsistencies between the handbook and the ordinance prevails, and can we make those changes in the handbook?
The changes have already been made.
it's already been made.
Oh, it has been made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in version
It's-
B2.
It's in version B2.
We created entirely separate ordinances and handbooks for
the
each
issue I raised
version.
with you today, the inconsistency between the handbook and the ordinance.
Ordinance will prevail.
The ordinance will
Okay,
prevail.
but we can make those changes in the handbook and not necessarily have to come back to council for those kinds of changes.
I think it's, what you're referring to is really just a typo kind of thing.
Okay.
And I don't know what the change is, so I can't comment.
Well, in the ordinance, it references more than 25% to initiate a survey. In the handbook, it says 25% or above to initiate a survey.
Let's make that change now. Make that.
Is that
Make
the
that
only
change now.
change? Do we have a problem?
The ordinance requires above 25%.
Handbook
the two
should
just need
require
to be
the same
consistent.
thing.
If it can be made,
So the
it's
handbook.
fine.
Let's approve the
9A1.
revised historic districting handbook
9A1.
with modification that says, which is consistent with the ordinance. How's that?
That you introduced previously.
On the percentage required for the petition.
Right. Above 25.
Okay? Is that good enough?
Does it cover it?
Good.
Yeah,
And there's this-
I have a second question.
I'll second that
Second.
motion.
Man, he's the one who's delaying it. It's
Well,
not
I
me,
raised-
okay? I just want to make that clear.
It's easier now than to try and clean them up later.
Yes.
The issue of occupant lane, do we have clarification on what occupant means?
We were going to fix that when the ordinance came back,
Okay.
but I think
All right.
the way we're going to describe it is to a household
Okay.
where it is different from the
Clean
owner.
all this stuff up, Ms. Wilkerson, so
By next week.
Have it correct by next week.
that you don't get a lecture about any inconsistencies from one to the other. Mr. Najai, and
I have a comment. I don't want to delay the evening, but I want
You
to
will.
tell the folks in the public, thank you for sticking with us. It's been a long road on this. It took some of us a little bit longer to understand it completely, like myself. But in the end, I think this council did the right thing, and we listened, and I appreciate staff's input, city attorney's input, all departments, and I think we're doing the right thing. And thank you, Mr. Fuad, for telling those naysayers that we're not a bunch of mindless jerks up here.
what?
What?
Where did you hear that?
Mr. Fuad was defending us in the public, knowing we were going to do the right thing, so.
Just for that, his house is twice
Hey,
historical.
Mr.
How's that?
Quintero?
Yeah, and I also want to congratulate everyone that's here tonight and those that are watching on television. It's been a long haul, but it's well worth the effort. And in the beginning, we heard all of the naysayers that somehow this was going to cut property values, when we all know it's the exact opposite. Across the nation, and even into Europe, there's no question that these historic districts bring up property values. So we're doing two things. We're saving some that needs to be saved, and number two, financially, I think it's going to help all of the homeowners in these neighborhoods, and they'll be able to make decisions about their properties and about their neighborhoods. So congratulations to all of you.
Okay.
And this will be the last time we'll see you.
Okay.
Can I say my piece too?
No.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Council members,
Roll call on what?
We haven't voted.
The ordinance.
there was a motion made by Councilmember
Already
Yusefian and
Not
seconded
the ordinance
by
that's being
Councilmember
introduced.
Quintero.
It's the
We
handbook.
already introduced the ordinance.
That's already done.
So we're voting on the handbook.
Handbook
Yes.
modified.
Do we have a copy of the handbook? And
Yes, it's in here.
Which is it, A or B?
It's the B.
It's B2?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Historic preservation.
Yes.
That's the one in the
You'll get
handbook?
you'll get a final copy.
Yes,
Okay. Roll call.
Council members Menuchyan,
yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Yusefian,
Aye.
Mayor Weaver.
All right. Now it's done.
Now, can I say one thing?
Now, congratulations.
One
thing.
thing.
And what I like to say is I like to also thank all the one who also opposed this. And I just think that it's very important in a democracy, you hear both sides. I think it was very important for us to kind of have the hearings that we did. As you saw, there was a lot of perceptions that some of us were against this, but after you saw the study sessions, you understood that our goal in here on the dais was to have a better ordinance. It was clear, concise, we have it on the DVD, so 5 years later, there is an issue, you know exactly what this council talked about, what issues were off and what issues were on. I am keeping that DVD, so if anybody ever, I'm off the council, loses it, I'm keeping that if the DVDs are still around, but I will have that so you can go back and look at it, unlike the tapes of the Hillside Ordinance, which we no longer have.
Okay.
So that was the reason.
Thank you
so
for-
thank you very much.
Thank you for your one comment. What is next? Don't just skip that.
Next is report and information or written communication. If there is none, is there any new business?
I just want to announce, last week with Mr. Yosefian in China, we finished at 8 o'clock. With him back with jet lag, we finished at 9 o'clock. Not bad.
Not bad.
Your return.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
adjourn.
Second.
I had to rub it in.
Having more.